some aggression in her hotness. Like, it's not like sweet girl. It's like she's so angular and strange looking. She's incredible looking. She
like
really
Angelina
is.
Jolie in Gone in 60 Seconds.
Yeah, there's just something viciously hot about her. I remember just sitting in the chair, just wincing every time she came on the screen. Like, Jesus.
But there's a certain level of lack of talent that makes a woman unattractive. See, if she was in porn and could take a 10-inch dick, then I would have respect for her. But just to go on screen and whore out your body to do a job you clearly can't do, it's unattractive to me.
Do you want to know the reason why we're funny? Because you look like a slimmer Wings, and I look like an ugly Bane. That's why we're funny.
What does it have to do with this?
No, I'm going to nip this bullshit right in the bud. If we were the male equivalent of Megan Fox or Angelina Jolie, we would be out there whoring our bodies for all that we could get. And don't say that you wouldn't be.
I'm not saying she shouldn't. I'm a capitalist. Of course she should exploit the things that God clearly wanted her to exploit. But I just think that it's unattractive when she's that untalented. She's so mainstream hot that it's not appealing to me. I like my hot chicks to have a little bit of crazy in them.
Since when did Megan Fox have mainstream appeal? She's like, do you know who has mainstream appeal?
She's in Transformers!
She's every fucking gamer. She's every gamer nerd's fucking,
Yeah, but
has
that's
a
not
poster
mainstream.
above it.
Like, Julia Roberts used to be mainstream. Like, what's her name? Sandra Bullock. She's mainstream. Megan Fox is
you're
not
50
mainstream.
Years old and the
Miley Cyrus used to
archetype
be
of
mainstream.
Used to be the soft, innocent Jennifer Aniston, cute girl next door look. That doesn't mean that the sharp, sexualized 2000s era doesn't have a new version of mainstream. You're just an old man. You live in 50s America.
Yeah, no, this is true. This is true. But I would say that she's from a different cloth than what I would consider mainstream girls. But I mean, that's
a different cloth. So wait. So she's deeper than I'm assuming. There's some
added
I think depth that I'm not getting here.
What I mean is, I think her looks are somewhat more unconventional than, I don't know, a fucking Reese Witherspoon or somebody like that. Or I tell you who's really weird, Renee Zellweger. I don't think I've ever seen anything of her where I find her attractive. Not once. Not once. Sorry, Renee.
Like you're gonna see her this weekend. Like you're gonna see her.
I know you're watching. I know you're watching my videos.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Lag Comp Podcast. Now we're on episode 48. Getting close. We're
on 49.
I'm restarting the recording. I can't mess up. I'm not allowed to have public record of a mistake. It's not allowed. I want to erase it from the internet.
Come to bed, keep your fucking shoes on.
I'm like Kim Jong-il. I can't deal with any public disparaging remarks that may blemish my perfect persona. But everybody knows Angelina Jolie is the hottest woman of all time. That's all we need to know. We have a guest, the hottest 14-year-old gamer child in the world who doesn't have a YouTube channel anymore. The Sneeko! What's going on, my friend? People hate me bringing you on, and the more they voice that opinion, the more I want to do it. What's going on, man?
Who hates us bringing Sneeko on?
There were people in the comments, and they were completely correct. They're saying that I talk, and I don't make any sense, and it kind of spirals towards complimenting me and what I do, which is what we've been doing for, like, all 6 shows that we've done. I watched back, it's like, he kind of has a point. We talk.
Yeah, but don't you understand that by complimenting you, I'm also, in an indirect way, complimenting myself?
Yeah. It's okay for the parents to live vicariously through our creation. We're allowed to enjoy this. We're old, decrepit. No one in society wants to see or look or hear from us anymore. But our creation can score touchdowns and fuck the prom queen. We're allowed to enjoy that through you, I would think.
Yeah, fuck you, comment people.
Yeah. And if you're not running the show, you're not. So blow yourselves.
You're not important. You're totally irrelevant.
Do we get an update since the Sneeko is gracing us with his presence? I'm sure the legions of 14-year-olds that will tune in for this would like to get an update. Look at his beautiful straight teeth. You are such a jackass. I hate looking at your gorgeous face. You look like a Korean Justin Bieber. It's disgusting. Is your channel coming back?
Yeah, it's coming back. I've been getting a lot of contacts from all the people I've been talking to, some lawyers, some other spam help people on Twitter, they all say I'm going to get it back either today or tomorrow. So I've been refreshing it all day, waiting to see my channel pop up, but it keeps showing the terminated thing. And I got really pissed off earlier because at one point, when I clicked on my channel, it went to an Expedia.com ad. So after they terminated me, they're using my name for money to make more ad revenue. After fucking me over that much, they're still making money off of my name.
Yep. I mean, it's already been said a million times. YouTube's broke. The whole system is dumb. It's too fucking easy, and it's basically a witch hunt, and it's not a positive thing. I wish that whole system would get changed. But the sponsor of today's show, a friend of the show, friend of all of us, as far as I know. Sneeko has elite friends. He has Call of Duty fans, so I don't know who he hangs out with. But the Sergeant J, a nice guy, has an interesting mix of things on his channel, and he was sure to correct me from the last time he sponsored a show. Airsoft guns apparently do shoot BBs, and he told me, how dare you insult the great sport of airsoft guns, playthings, plastic shooting mechanics. I have no idea. Go to his channel and check out his airsoft shit to even get a clue what the fuck any of that's about. But he also plays games, shooters. I know he likes Battlefield specifically and COD. He posted on Brian's channel, as far as I know. Right?
Yeah, his airsoft videos are pretty much like your FPS content, but in real life. Like, he's got like the GoPro on with his little MP7 running around going pew 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 with the little BB guns. It's cool. It's real life Call of Duty or Battlefield.
And he wanted to point out that in real life, the hit detection is great. There's no lag compensation whatsoever. Like, zero latency. It's just everything performs as it. Nothing's overpowered. And if you suck at it, then it's 100% your fault. So it's max skill gap. It's that real life thing. I know it's scary, and we might not want to try new things, which may be a theme of this show with the new game coming out. But try it out. Speaking of trying new things, try out his channel. Linked in the description and annotated on screen. Bunch of gaming stuff, airsoft, great guy, like him a lot.
Airsoft gaming and some other crap.
Yes. What a beautiful slogan. The self-confidence that emits from that kind of thing. To just admit that it's crap. I should do that. Just to be honest, give people straight up. Asshole and crap. That's all everything I do on this channel is.
That's Eddie's name. He self-deprecates himself in his title.
Yeah, I know. If only I had the courage to do such a thing. Let's get into some nerd talk, why don't we? I already talked about the Advanced Warfare trailer, and some of us don't have channels, so I don't know if we've had the opportunity to comment on that, even if they wanted to. But what do we think about the upcoming Advanced Warfare game and all of the changes? AKA Titanfall 2. Don't call it Titanfall 2! They're in development for years! Yeah, whatever.
I think it's, before we get into the thoughts, my parody, my The Hammer parody on OP is actually ahead of both T. Martin and Ali A in the search results for Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, which is fucking awesome.
Can we get a big round of applause for that?
Incredible.
For beating the man out there? I'm sorry, I'm working the fucking keyboard
Sticking
here.
it to the man. Stick it to the man.
Yes! One of our own, taking the gold! And the SEO champion of the week. That's pretty awesome. I love
it's
your
the hammer, baby.
I want to just go on record and say, I think I love that guy. I really love all the enthusiasm that he puts into the game, because even
his shitty jokes.
Oh my god. Even if he's inept at making the game, at least he's got that passion to where he actually believes his own bullshit. I can respect that in a man.
Yeah, no, during the reveal, like, I don't remember who tweeted it out, but when they were going back and forth with the banter with one another, somebody was like, those two are so gay for each other, and I was like, it's obvious that Schofield is the top and Condrey is the bottom. That's how it has to be.
Yeah, it's quite clear to me that that's the way.
He's got 100 pounds on the poor guy. He works out every morning.
Maybe it would just be like the exact opposite. You know, like the really butch acting one is like the queen of the pair. We never know.
Yeah, we should not suppose on their homosexual lifestyle
true.
Behind closed doors. Anyway, as funny as that is, You guys haven't really talked in broad strokes, at least, about the game on your channel specifically, other than making fun of the lunacy of it. But what do you guys think? Are you excited for this game? Because I'm actually interested to talk about it, which is amazing, isn't it?
I'm intrigued as well. Like, I had absolutely no faith in Call of Duty Ghosts. Even when the trailer dropped, I was like, I'm not all about this. This is like not anything I even want to go for. But Advanced Warfare, originally I thought this is going to be a ridiculous game, and then I looked and saw the reveal, and I was like, hey, this is actually kind of awesome. For the people that want Call of Duty to be like Call of Duty, or to like return to like simpler times, this is totally a slap in the face to them, and that's why a lot of people are pissed off about this. But me, personally, if it plays like Titanfall does, then I'm going to like it. That's what it comes down to.
Okay, Sorry, I'll go just quickly. So my thoughts about it were, I watched it, it kind of looked like the jumpy bits from Titanfall, and I was like, this is immediately more up my street than Ghosts is. Ghosts is horrific. Like, if you put gameplay next to each other from each game, you're like, well, one looks fun, and one really, really doesn't. And the trailer kind of got me excited, and I did, on my channel today, I did say, well, that's what a reveal's supposed to do, right? It's supposed to get you hyped. These things are shaped by professionals that know exactly what their audience want to see. At some point, someone who shall remain nameless said that Ghost was actually good. So, shows just shows how wrong people can be. But I was watching it, I was like, fast movement, more movement options, skill gap's going to be wider. I'm all for this. I think it could be really fun. However, Danger Close is in the game, and they've invented. They listened to my feedback about IEDs, and now what they've made them do is they've made them extra skillful by, when you set them off, they follow you, hunt you down, and then explode. So even if you aren't killed immediately, they will come and hunt you down. So we've got magic IEDs now.
It's not magic, it's future warfare.
They're the Liam Neeson IEDs, actually.
Yeah.
I will find you. The description is a proximity-triggered drone that tracks enemies and explodes when near them. It is literally the Liam Neeson drone. It's has the potential to be Incredit AIDS when combined with Danger Close. I thought they were going to do the Treyarch thing, but Danger Close in as a wild card, or maybe just like get an extra lethal or something like that. No, they went full retard. They went full retard, and to me, it all depends. The aids of that depends on the strength of Flak Jacket, because if Flak Jacket is like Black Ops 2 Flak Jacket, so it's basically like an annoying fucking insect biting you, like, yeah, whatever, fuck off. Like, that's fine, and I won't complain, I won't like shout on their Twitter like, no, fucking Chandra, you fucking faggot. I won't do that if Flak Jacket's really good. Now, there's the fucking floating IEDs, which could be aids, and then there's loads of other things like, see people through wall grenades, like Recon, they're turning that into equipment, and there's tracker ammo, which does what Recon Pro did in Modern Warfare 3, and all that kind of stuff. I don't know how that's going to affect the game until I play it. Now, it looks like the core game, the movement and the gun battles will be fun, but it's a Call of Duty. There will be stuff in the game that makes you like grasp at your imaginary hair and just yank it.
Eddie, we could get a transplant thing worked out, because I'm pretty sure I have enough hair on my back in order to give you a full head of luscious curly locks.
I'll snip a few off of these tips
just had,
too.
The biggest Jufro ever. Like, if my hair when it grew out was just like Seth Rogen.
That would be pretty sweet. I will say, though, with the IEDs and Danger Close, you got to keep in mind, it depends how they interact with movement. So the idea of, oh, Danger Close is in the game, it's going to be MW2 again, and it's completely broken. It's never going to be that fucking obvious. You can't just look at it like, I've played this game in the past, so therefore I know exactly. No, you have to look at the new context of everything they're putting together, not pick and choose the broken things from the past and assume they're not going to
I agree with you, which is why I said I'm not going to immediately call them faggots.
Because if the IEDs don't go off when you boost or dodge, or you're able to dodge them, or you're in the air half the time, when there's grenades exploding on the ground, it's not going to be as obvious of a problem. I'm not
Yeah.
saying it's a good idea for them to do that. I'm just saying you
I
have to
just-
take it wholesale. You can't pick and part when you haven't
Yeah,
played it.
okay, but the principle of putting a perk in that gives you extra explosive damage, if there were no proximity explosives in the game and it was just like grenades and there were no noob tubes, if it was just like, well, this is obviously for assaulting a hill or something in Hardpoint, and it was, and it was top-down design, so they were like, this is another tool you can use to break someone out of a position. So it was built into the metagame and had its
Correctly.
place. Yeah, correctly.
But we don't know it.
Then fine. But the problem is we haven't played it to find out whether that's true. The only
See,
thing that I do know, sorry to cut you off, is that Fearcrad's played it a lot, and he said he was having really good games, but he said the one thing that really fucking pisses me off is that remote drone, because apparently you have no idea that it's coming for you. There's no noise, there's no like beep, beep, beep. There's none of that. It's just bang.
See, I was gonna go where you went, Eddie. The even idea that they put it in the game pisses me off in the first place. Why does this need to be in the game? This is just a crutch for shitty players, in my opinion. Getting easy kills with explosives. That's why I hate it. That the fact that it's even in there in the first place pisses me off. There's lots of shit in this game that will no doubt piss me off. I'll give you another example. That boost slam thing going to piss me off. If I see somebody jumping, right, and I go to pull up my gun and shoot at them, and all of a sudden they just fucking splat me like a goddamn mosquito, I'm going to be pissed off at that.
Teabag attack.
Going to
It's
piss
very
me off.
I have a
effective.
feeling, like, just watching the trailer, I felt like this is a spiritual successor to Black Ops 2. That's what I felt.
Oh yeah, it is.
That's what the campaign looks like
The
too.
return of the medals, the return of the nuclear medal, everything to do with the way that the game looks and sounds and all that kind of stuff, I thought was, pick 13 instead of pick 10. This is a spiritual successor to Black Ops 2.
Well, I mean, in the reveal, they mentioned Black Ops 2 6 times, and they said Ghost 0 times. That tells you everything you need to know.
Well, they want to
I think-
distance themselves from the boring game and
Yeah, I
attach
think-
to the last action game.
I mean, I
think
feel
it's-
bad for Treyarch, because Sledgehammer just stole their thunder and created Black Ops 3 already,
Well,
basically.
we don't know what they're working on, but
Yeah, we don't know what they're working
It's
on.
going to
Maybe
be
they...
the first COD where they don't say that the last game was better.
Yeah, no,
Ever.
I said this in my video because Drifter said, "Oh, there's an element of group thinking." Now, I'm not going to deny that hasn't happened in the past. I think that's true, but no one will ever say that Ghost is the best COD. No one. I don't think there's. Obviously, there will be, but a certain percentage of the population is
That's not true.
mentally retarded. So
Especially people who
that's the
played
typical
other
of everything.
games. If they only
That's
played
not-
Ghosts, and can't handle Advanced Warfare, I could see them maybe going back. But nobody with a decent opinion is convincing COD fans of that.
I
There's a
completely,
Twitter account-
I completely disagree. I think that this game is so radically different than, there's a segment of people out there, like I said earlier, that want Call of Duty to do things simple, get back to its roots, do what it's supposed to do. This game does not look like that at all. This does not look like a Call of Duty game at all. And I feel like there are going to be people that are pissed off enough at this radical change that will say, fuck it, I'm going to play Ghosts because at least Ghosts is grounded in what I'm used to from Call of Duty, instead of, skippity-bebop and jumping with all these other beepity-bops all over the fucking place.
But to a certain extent, I think this is partly why Frito is excited about it, is that COD comes from games like Quake, right? And Major Nelson, being the fucking idiot that he is, saying that in the past games were flat. Fuck off, dude. Like, come on. Like, I don't know why you're saying things like that. Just don't, like...
He's either
You don't need
ignorant
my
or
fault.
very good at PR. One of the two. I
Yeah.
haven't decided which one it is.
He's probably very good at PR, but still, that's just lying. So don't do that. The PR does not mean that you're just licensed to lie. You're allowed to embellish the truth, but not just flat out
The
lie.
cool thing is
Anyway.
he's not a dev, so he can get away with it. He can say whatever he
Yeah.
wants. Like,
He can
this
say
is
whatever he wants.
revolutionary. Like, he's just a talking head.
But back to my point, which was, I know why Frito's excited, because this feels like this game is getting closer to Quake than any other COD before. Like, with the movement and the jumping and the speed, the raw speed of this game, if you take the right exo abilities. And, people were going to complain about Cloak, but I don't know about you, but I could fucking see those people. Like, it's like the worst Cloak in the world. the only way it would work is if you're in the darkest corner ever.
Which will happen.
Yeah, which will of course will happen, but you will never, even if you made everyone fight in a giant circle with no walls, people would try and find a corner to sit in. There is just a proportion of the COD community that's what they do. This is it's even sadder. Like doing it on Battlefield is pretty sad, like putting the fucking paint on and pretending you're in a real war. But if you're playing COD and you're like, this is a war game, I'm going to play it like a real soldier, you're a cunt. I know that you contribute and buy the game, so you should be allowed to play it however the fuck you want, but you just ruin everybody else's time, so go fuck yourself. But that will still happen in this game.
Plus, there is all these other tracking things to counter cloaking and camping. Those threat detector grenades do show people that are cloaked. They showed that off in the trailer. There's bullets, like you said, that if you shoot somebody, they'll show up on your radar. There's 10,000 different flavors of UAV that you could fucking get. You know what I mean? So I don't think cloaking is not a huge problem in Titanfall. I don't think it's going to be a huge problem in Advanced Warfare, but it also depends on the size of the size and the design of the maps. You know what I mean?
I think we all, to a certain extent, we navigate this space where we play these games, and the core, if the core element of the game is fun, like the actual action of getting a kill is fun, then we'll tolerate an awful amount of bullshit just to get those moments that were really fun and hype. Like, we'll go through fucking hell and back to feel that. And, case in point is Battlefield 4. Actually shooting people in Battlefield is really satisfying. It's just that the game for a long time has been in omega beta and in no sort of fit state to be sold. But we put up with it and enjoy it and for what it is. Now, I feel that I'll get that experience from Advanced Warfare. I also feel that I'll be playing a lot more of the League play this time round, because my main problem with Black Ops 2 was bullshit in it and connection, and League play solved a lot of those problems, and I don't mind the extra competitive element either. So if it's like a Treyarch game with its design and thought and philosophy, but with much better hit detection and a competitive playlist, then I think I'll be relatively happy. I'll certainly be more happy than I was with Ghost.
It's enough to maybe convince me. If what you just said is true, it's enough to maybe convince me to join the console peasant race with my friends. That's a very compelling argument for me. What I want to kind of tether it to is something that Redneck said in his video in reaction to this, because if you don't know, I don't know what he does behind the scenes. We don't get a lot about that, but my history with him is somehow somebody talked to him, and he actually got me in touch with people to shoutcast when I was originally trying to do that. So respect for him, and I like him quite a bit. We know each other, but he said that Advanced Warfare looks like the game Titanfall wanted to be, which is thoughts I had, but I didn't phrase it quite that way. But I agree with that completely, because a lot of
you just froze.
Hello? Yeah? We're still recording. Oh,
okay.
DDoS?
Get back.
Oh, hey. So,
hey.
Excuses for our quick technical error there. But he said Advanced Warfare looks like the game Titanfall wanted to be. And the deal with that is, I think the Call of Duty devs know how to create the full picture of where Titanfall left off and didn't capitalize, whether it's the ranked playlist, because the funny thing is people say they hate ranked playlists, but wouldn't you like those tryhards to have a place to roam alone? Like you say you want the snipers to have their own playlist. Why not let the tryhards have their own playlist? Why not give people what they want? Exactly. Now I know you can complain if they develop the game solely for that and they give you the shaft, but at least some attention has to be given to that point. And if they give that longevity for people who think they're good at COD to play, which is kind of like, I don't know, playing fucking Angry Birds competitively in this grand scheme of things, but still, but still, it's something for them to do and focus on. And they have all of this casual stuff that they do much better. 100 different probably the most variation we've ever seen, as far as I can tell. That's my preliminary statement. I don't know if that's true or not, but changing all the score streaks, different attachments, and weird.
Yeah,
things.
that was cool.
Yeah,
that was
these
cool.
are cool things. They don't have to be balanced. They don't have to make sense. They just have to be interesting and cool. And Titanfall didn't do that. And fun.
That's it.
It looks fun. That's the main thing.
Doesn't it? Like I was watching it going, I think a lot of people, a lot of COD fans, a lot of us, especially on the internet, we've got so used to complaining about ghosts. Like a lot of people started with Modern Warfare 3. That was the first time that I really started noticing people starting to complain. Like Modern Warfare 3, I watched a lot of videos of people saying, I hate this game, you know. There's a lot of
or
old
it was
school
the
YouTubers.
norm to complain, you mean? Like,
Yeah,
people
yeah,
always
yeah,
complained, but it wasn't always the status quo.
It wasn't a thing, you know. It wasn't what you did, you know. So, I mean, it started way back then, and I just remember feeling like now towards the end of Ghost, I just feel COD is such a toxic environment that people they just expect everything to be terrible. And to be fair, on the grounds of the last game, they weren't they weren't really given that much alternative. Like I genuinely think Ghost is the worst COD because it has every COD has its bad shit. But aside from Modern Warfare 2 with the totally game-breaking one-man army Danger Close noob tube thing, Ghost has the worst bad shit. Like, its bad shit makes the entire experience unfun. At least
lack of fun and reward. Those two things.
Yeah, and like Modern Warfare 2 could still be fun,
right?
Even though there was broken shit in it. But Ghost is like got the worst broken stuff, and it's not that fun, and it's really slow. And then they showed us a trailer with people jumping around with like jetpacks and like doing crazy sideways evasion techniques. And I was just watching that, getting a fucking like a semi on. I was like, this is going to be so fucking sick. Like, there's going to be a moment I get behind a spawn, I spray 3 people down, have to reload, one of them turns round, I do this fucking crazy horizontal fucking side thing while still reloading, but luckily get behind some cover and mow the rest of them down. And I'm going to be like, that shit was so fucking cool. And that's what COD is. That feeling right there is what they should turn into game form. And this looks like it could do it. Now, I have to qualify this with some usual hate of marketing people, because I noticed this floating explosive in a cross video, and I mentioned it today on Twitter. I was like, isn't it funny how all these YouTubers have been flown out and all expenses paid on the fucking coke and hooker gravy train? They're not mentioning Danger Close. They're not mentioning this stupid floating magic IED. No one said anything. And then as soon as I said that, guess what? Some people started talking about it. And I was like, I wonder if they're just like, they didn't say anything because they didn't want to say a negative in a video because they wanted to get invited back to the next event, or they just didn't notice, like they genuinely didn't.
Well,
Apparently,
Eddie, none of them ever get directly paid by Activision. Just to clear that up, no one gets direct payment from Activision. Nudge, wink, wink.
Did you see Drifter's tweet where he was like, I'm happy with 95% of it, 5% of the stuff I'm sure they can sort out. And then Michael Chondry tweeted him back being like, thank you so much, and we'll see if we can get that 5% sorted out by release time. Yeah, basically. And then Drifter tweeted back, like, I'm not criticizing Drifter here, but he was like, yeah, I've got some notes about, what I'm not that happy about, which I'll mention in a video. And I genuinely think that change in tack where he's like, I'm going to say this in a video, but, nice and safely and critically and, like an adult or whatever the fuck that is. Like, he's going to make a video about it. That's a direct response to someone like JD criticizing him. I honestly believe that.
It is.
I think it's him going, he would never probably say this, but I think he's gone, maybe some part of him's gone, yeah, actually, you know what, this stuff does need to be made, as well as the 3 videos I've made a day about all the customization, all the weapons, and all those kind of like videos. Like, maybe, yeah, actually, this game isn't perfect, and we need to point out where.
What Eddie said earlier about being cynical about the game, that was exactly how I was, because I was streaming during the reveal. I was like counting down, and then it started, and the whole time I didn't really have high expectations as usual. I was kind of, because like the reveal, in my opinion, was pretty terrible, because every time they made a joke and there was like, this is a greater audience, a great applause. It was like the lamest applause I've ever seen. It was just like 5 people clapping. And there's like, thanks for the applause.
Sneeko, not everyone has the talent where when they speak words, the entire crowd just uproars, like standing ovation. Not everybody automatically loves people.
No, do you know why
I know
that
it's hard
is?
for you to understand that, but...
No, it was funnier because like they were scanning over the crowd, and I could see like Fear Crowds and Ali Ace, like they're just like...
Yeah, but you know why that crowd's rubbish? Is because they flew out YouTubers who... Yeah, these are all my friends, and I'm one. Look at my tag.
Degenerate.
Look at the social reject, non-functional Asperger's horror show that I am with my basement tan.
Allergic
And
to
these are the
sunlight.
people- These are the people they flew out to the reveal. So they're like, thanks for the laughs, and they probably were laughing, just not in the way that normal people do.
But so I thought the reveal was terrible, but I was watching some gameplay today. That for some reason they had the MLG players play it instead of normal people, so they were playing with them. I was watching some of the gameplay, and I was actually mildly impressed, and I actually did like some of it that was in it. I was like, I got that feeling where I wanted to play it. Like immediately, I wanted the game, and I didn't. When I was watching the Ghost last year, the Ghost gameplay, I didn't get that at all. I had a feeling that this was just is not gonna happen. It wasn't feeling that like excitement that I got when I was watching the Black Ops 2 and Modern Warfare 3 reveal.
Didn't you get the feeling that when you watch, like, you can customize your kill streaks, you can customize the guns, and there'll be special, like, drops where you might get a special version of a gun that come in 3, like, rarities, like Recruit, Professional, and Elite, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that could be overpowered, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But, like, when I was watching all of this, I was like, this is thought out. Like, these people have a strategy, and they have a game plan. Whether that game plan is entirely to my taste, I will find out. But it's very evident to me that they have thought a lot of this through, and that it's deep. This game immediately, just by looking at it, just by the amount of things that you can do and the amount of ways that you can counter everything that you can do, I'm like, this game is deep.
Look at Brian
Oh,
squirming
come on,
in his
Eddie.
chair.
It's not the well thought out. It's well ripped off. Come on. Supply drops are battle packs. There's Titanfall movement in this shit.
They're not battle
There's the
packs.
medals
They're
from
not
Black
battle
Ops
packs.
2.
You
There's
don't
the
get
cloaking
anything
from Crisis.
There's no special version of a gun in battle packs in Battlefield, is there?
Yeah, this
No,
could
but
either
you
be
got
game
stupid
breaking
ram-
or incredibly
This
different.
is like,
It's going to be.
if it's ripped off from
it's gonna be-
anywhere, it's
it's
ripped
go-
off from Blacklight, because Blacklight does that. It does custom builds that you can't change, that you can buy
There you
and
go.
test out. But I
the-
don't have
we're
a
not
problem
giving
with them
awards for
taking a good
creativity here.
idea.
The heart.
I don't personally care.
No,
Oh,
I'm just
you
I'm just
ripped-
causing an uproarious uproar. But with the supply drops, the guns, you can see that they alter stats by 1% point out of like 20.
You
I
don't know what
think
those mean, though.
personally-
The bars don't mean anything. Remember that, Schwantz. They mean absolutely nothing. But you can tell
But I
which
think
gun it
it's
is
gonna
by the
be-
camo. That's kind of cool. The camos are very specific to, as far as I can tell, right? If I'm not wrong. So each
Yeah.
version of that gun has a specific camo, so you'll know
Yeah.
what kind of gun it is.
If they have,
But
like, I think the elite ones have an obsidian camo, so it's like a reflective black. So if you watch Kill Cam and someone's got like a reflective black version of the same gun you've got, it's like, oh fuck, they've got the elite version, the ultra rare elite version of the MP7 or something. Like
Yeah,
that would be
the
cool.
blue and
Like
yellow
if you
one
got it,
is a specific type. The blue and yellow one in the trailer, that's a specific offset. That's like one of the different varieties, right?
yeah.
But I think honestly it's going to be false variety. I don't think the attributes of the gun will really differentiate the standard version of the gun from the, super obsidian fucking elite thing I just randomly got lucky kind of thing.
You're probably right, Brian, but you're also Mr. Tar 21 for 6 years. So you're probably right, but you got to respect that.
No,
that-
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying
it
that's
doesn't
what I think
appeal
it's
to
gonna
you
be.
though. It doesn't appeal to you. You're probably right. But to a lot of people who enjoy the RPG elements, this is a wet dream as far as I can tell. It's kind of adding a Borderlands unique rare
It's
to
like
the
Pokemon.
multiplayer where
Let
it's
them all.
But I'm down with that. I was like,
or Destiny. It's kind of like Destiny too. It's the same principles. It gives
And you
that
earn it-
uniqueness to it and variety.
yeah, you earn it.
No,
through
I'm not
choice.
saying it's a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying that I don't think it's going to be like, oh, this version of the gun is so overpowered. I don't think even though it looks like the stats will change, I don't think there's going to be enough differentiation between the different types of guns. Like the boomstick version versus the party maker version. It'll be the
Okay,
same fucking thing.
So let's put it this way: if it were me, what I would do with those ultra rare versions of the guns is that I would beta any like changes that you were planning to do in a patch in that version of the gun, and see, like, you'd be running background tests to see how, if you tweak the fire rate, if you did this, like any upcoming balance patches, I would experiment with the player base with those guns. So they've got limited numbers, so they can collect the numbers and they can see how well that person does. and how it compared to the base version of the gun. Like, that would be a smart way of implementing something that's special and unique that you would never get to see. And say what you like.
That's a genius idea. This way there's not 7 patches to the fucking MTAR-X like there were in Ghost to go, whoops, we fucked that up. Oh, wait, hold on a second.
But also what you got to remember, too, and this is something that I think no other dev other than David Vonderhaar from Call of Duty at least explained this, is that you have to balance each attachment uniform. Whereas if there's a unique set, like Drifter said in his expert analysis, each of these special guns gets specific attachments that you can't change. So it's a thing among itself. So for instance, if it has a certain strength, maybe you have to use the iron sights. Back to the Call of Duty 2 days. Holla at me when you actually didn't have a red dot sight that cleared away all the dead space and it took more skill to aim the damn thing. But that is a balancing factor by eliminating the other variety, by making it more specific, where it gives them the creativity to be able to. This is one of the main criticisms I have of the creative class system. It's impossible to balance that way and have a lot of variety. This gives you a separate package that they're allowed to try X, Y, and Z that won't be compatible with different combinations, aka the community ruins this because they combine this with that. Well, they don't get to combine it because the devs get to pick, well, we have this special thing over here.
And you know that all those like custom weapons, that elite weapons, that in League play, that'll all be gone. Like, they'll make League play esports rules, and they'll make everything standardized.
We'll see. Hopefully not, to be honest. Hopefully 90% of the game is in ranked. But we've heard nothing about that other than ranked. That's all we know.
There's a ranked playlist. That's all we've heard. One thing I want to go back to what Eddie said was the word beta. Now, at the very, very end of the reveal, when they were like, getting the Activision CEO to make a special announcement for people that pre-order, I'm like, oh my fucking god, there's going to be a beta for this game. And when he goes, Day Zero instead, the crowd was just like, what the fuck? And he's like, yeah, round of applause for Day Zero, and like nobody clapped.
Yeah.
I was like, yep, that's why. Like, why is Call of Duty? Well, I know why. It's where is it? Here we go. This is why they don't do a beta.
He's never going to spend that $1. He's got to have it by his desk at all times on the show.
It's not even money. It's a prop.
He wipes his ass with
But
those,
that's why, like, people will try the beta and get pissed off about it and won't buy the game. Just like I did with the Destiny beta, which I still catch shit for, by the way. Fuck you guys in my comment section. The Destiny beta, I tried it. I didn't like it, so I'm not pre-ordering it. I'm not getting the game anymore. I think Advanced Warfare, they are like, all right, well, if we do a beta, it'll probably drive more people away than it will actually get into our pocket.
There's no way. That thinking is unsound as far as I'm concerned. If Call of Duty ran a beta, what, you're saying less people would buy it? I'm sorry.
People that would have bought it would not buy it.
Also,
if they don't like the beta.
Look how many people bought Titanfall because of the beta. That hyped it up so much, and it set the expectations so high for the game that it would like kill Call of Duty. And then look what happened. For me, it kind of depends about what the attitude of the community is, but I really think that the beta would benefit the game.
I will say what a beta can help you do is penetrate a market. However, one could argue Call of Duty doesn't need to do that. It has the least to gain out of anybody, any game ever, out of any media ever in market penetration. Everybody knows what COD is. Everyone knows a new one comes out every year. They don't need a beta to create a news story about it. They're already doing that with just leaks of information.
No, that's true.
We already know. So that's the problem. It has diminishing returns as opposed to a upstart new game. And by the way, what did the Titanfall beta teach us? Well, they can show us part of the game, and then when the actual game comes out, we're like, wait a sec. I assumed all of this. I assumed there'd be 10 times as much content, and there was twice as much content. And a lot of us didn't like that.
Yeah, I think that Call of Duty is at a point where it has never dealt with this much negative press about a single game. I think we can all agree that Ghost has been a catastrophic disaster for their PR. I don't think that's overstating it. I think COD fans are more pissed off with Ghost than they have been with any other title.
But Eddie, in terms of the market penetration, what percentage of the people that I'm talking about even follow any of the press that we're ingrained in? I try to bring this up all the time. I don't think people grasp it. When I say COD is a giant industry, what percentage watch videos on YouTube, watch the reveal on the weekend? It's such
that's true.
When people talk about the minority of like the competitive squad, the minority of just the viewership of the enthusiasts of the core fans, which you could say, oh, they should do everything for the core fans. Well, guess what? The core fans don't make the money, you motherfuckers. You talk about the esports guys. Oh, they're not making the money for the game. Guess what? The people who watch videos don't make money for the game either. It's the moms and pops and Joe Sixpacks of the world that casually pick up the games, and maybe these motherfuckers go to GameStop and buy the old games. The thing has a long tail, the franchise. It's a giant thing that you can't wrap your head around, to be honest with you. It's much bigger than anything in the media.
This game is going to be
Which
good.
is why the beta wouldn't help, is my point. Because
that's exactly what I. Thank you for elaborating on what.
No, I think that the beta would help because
the
it would
core fans. It would help the core fans.
It would convince people who weren't going to buy the game because of the failure of the game in the past. I honestly believe that.
I'm going to like this game because they have a lot of the little things that games like Black Ops 2 have, which is why I like that game. They have a lot of little exciting things that Ghost had none of. You see, like, there's one thing that really excited me. They have the co-op kill streaks where two people can go in an airplane or a chopper and just shoot down and just mow down everyone. Like, imagine being in a party chat talking to someone and you're both just, like, destroying their spawn, seeing people come in, like, flying around you, like, telling people where they are. That stuff like that is what makes the game fun and which makes me excited about it, which I really want to play it now.
I think some people don't like that aspect, but it's something new at the very least.
Did anyone else notice? No one's spoken about this, but pardon me, in the customize your kill streaks part, where they're like, you can add stuff to it. Did anyone notice that the most expensive one down at the bottom said support?
I didn't see that.
Watch it again. Every kill streak, the most expensive unit on the customize bit at the bottom says support.
So you're thinking maybe there's a modifier that removes the death penalty?
Yeah.
Which would increase the cost, but remove the qualifier of death. Yeah,
right.
Of dying to lose
of
it.
Every kill streak in the game.
Well, that'd be an interesting way to balance it if they did it properly, as long as it's expensive enough.
There's no way that you could argue to me that dogs could ever be expensive enough for Jimmy No Thumbs to be able to call dogs in on me.
Well, what if it's 40, 50 kills worth of points?
Actually, okay, you've just done that, but fuck you.
But that is stupid, though. I'm trying to play devil's advocate because I like these balance problems. I like the idea of approaching them with an open mind because I hate people who just say, like we said before, oh, danger close, game's broke, not buying it. Well, come on, dude. Give them a chance to at least convince you. But because they always have to balance that. They have to balance the fact that they're doing things on this side, which are going to increase the skill gap, the movement and stuff, which I kind of want to say another thing about. And then they have to, at the same time, keep the casuals that aren't going to be able to utilize the movement as well as everybody else. I don't know. It's hard for me to make these glossing statements because everybody has their own agenda, and Call of Duty satisfies everybody. It's not supposed to fit to one person's perspective, but...
Yeah, I mean,
but that does sound like shit to me. That's a terrible idea, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I do like the idea of support. I don't like its implementation in most games. Lethal streaks on a support basis, that would fucking piss me off. Fine, if you want to get a UAV or VSAT or whatever on a support basis or like
a VSAT, are you fucking kidding me?
Ammo boxes, and maybe special grenades,
like
things
stupid
like that.
shit, non-lethal things. I
shit.
don't care if you do that in a support manner, but things that are lethal streaks, if you do it in a support manner, that shit's gonna piss me off.
Yeah.
Did any of you guys see during the whole reveal and all the interviews, they spam the word verticality over and over and over again. Like they really wanted us to get that there's vertical, all the maps are vertical. There was like so much that there's a whole Twitter account with like 600 followers now. It's called AW Verticality, where just every time they say verticality, they take a screenshot and put it on.
People get annoyed by that. I kind of almost wish we had Skag on here because I think he's one of the... Man, I was about to say something disparaging to everyone else that disagrees, but he's the most intelligent person I've heard disagree with verticality in terms of the way he approaches his disagreement or disagreeableness to the concept. But I'll say if you're the type of player who, like Eddie, enjoys Cranked or Specialist or any of the things that help you move fast and move faster, don't be negative to that. Be open-minded. And when you look at the Bob Loblaw was talking about the map seemed too big. I'm like, they're all open. You can jump over shit and boost your way through. The maps shrink when you have these movement abilities that you have to use. That's what's so key about them. Another thing, people were talking about the COD 4 map pipeline, and there's other better COD 4 maps, but in my opinion, that's probably the best COD 4 map when you can jump the height of a building, where there's like those bars that cross the two buildings, there's roofs that you can fly off. It's probably the best for this movement system. So as long as the map design is tethered to the function of the game, we know an example of that not working, COD Ghosts. It's completely not thought out completely whatsoever. But if it's more user-friendly to be able to navigate through the maps with the movement, it's going to be a beautiful thing. My criticisms of Titanfall was they didn't hone enough, where they had the ideas of, okay, you can see kind of a concept of jump here, jump there, you know, whatever. You can do some cool little routes. But it was kind of shoved to the side of the main meta of the game. It wasn't always in your face. It wasn't it
wasn't integral to the game.
It wasn't.
You could get kills by running around on the ground. You didn't have to be in the air doing all the parkour
It helped.
stuff.
I'm not saying it didn't help. I'm not saying it was a good idea. But in Advanced Warfare, you will have to be good at doing that. You will have to know when to boost, when to slide, kind of like in Titan Battles, which was a better example of the dodging and stuff. And you will have to be jumping 30 feet in the air to get across these maps. And it'll have that constant state of tension throughout, which I think will be good. But something that Brian said, and I think a lot of people are saying, that this doesn't seem to be a COD game, which is what a lot of people say. And maybe I'm just more open, but to be honest with you, barring a few gimmicky things, like I could see cloaking in any COD game. It's not a huge mind fuck for me. The jumping,
the ghillie suit is a fucking cloak. Let's be honest about
it. Exactly. The jumping and the open map design is the biggest difference, but everything else to me seems incredibly COD, in my opinion. The kill time and everything else.
It could just be a better game than COD has been for a while. Like, that's what I see it as. There could be shit in it that will drive me fucking crazy, and as soon as that happens, I've thought about this for a long time. I thought, do you know what? I'll probably just stop playing Publics for COD because it's just too frustrating. I've got to the point now with, you know, not necessarily in gun skill, but in experience where I'm at black belt, right, in COD. I've played it for years, and the white belt shit that's in there to level that playing field out just fucking annoys me now. So rather than deal with that in Publics and try and, you know, my biggest mistake with Ghost was trying to play it the way I wanted to play a COD game, because it's not made for that. Yeah, lightweight and marathon are in the game, but they're not perks, they're disadvantages. And you really have to look at it that way, because Ghosts, like Frito says, made me laugh.
It should be in its own section. Perks?
They're like, no, I've made this point before, they're like skulls that you used in the Halo 3 campaign to make the game harder. You want to make Ghosts harder? Use marathon and lightweight. That'll make it harder.
Free, God damn it, Infinity Ward, make them cost 0. Jesus Christ. Anyway, sorry.
Anyway.
Or -1.
Yeah, I get to take more perks. Cool. Even better. The one thing for me is, like, obviously I don't think Specialist is going to be in this game, and that does make me sad, because I do like the idea of ignoring lethal streaks and really playing the game that I want to play, which is just going from engagement to engagement in my casual mode.
You could take off kill streaks and get more perks.
Yeah, no, that's true.
It's not the same thing,
I'd like to be able to.
It's not acquiring perks.
Yeah. It's not like you get to 7 or you get to whatever 10 or something, and you suddenly speed up and the world gets a little bit quicker and your heart rate starts going a little faster. That's the experience I like.
But that's a constant when you have the boosts, though.
Yeah, but I like the fact that even if it was constant, I like that just little tiny, like, you've achieved something, now you run a little quicker, your health regens a little quicker, you're quicker slightly to the draw.
Feeling.
Yeah, I like that, and I think it's really fun. Now, I don't think that's necessarily going to be in this game, but if it's a good core, like, it goes back to what I was saying, if the core doing stuff, evading, shooting, all that kind of stuff is fun, then I'll put up with virtually anything. And I think that on the evidence shown, that might be the case. And there's always a ranked playlist. And I don't play ranked in Ghost because it's fucking AIDS, because people can leave. People can just leave. Like it's a public.
Ghost did esports so fucking dirty. Esports is terrible in Call of Duty Ghosts. Why they thought round-based domination was better than hardpoint and blitz was better than capture the flag is fucking beyond grasps.
Yeah, but they
And the
didn't even
fact-
do round-based. They did at the beginning of the game. They had to manually set that.
Oh,
and
I know.
Then, and
You
then
had to write
restart
down the
lobby.
fuck. I did it. I hosted a competitive Ghost tournament. You had to write down the fucking score as if you were in a bowling alley from like the 1980s. What? This bowling alley doesn't keep track of my score? What is an X? How many points is this? No, it was fucking dumb.
What was that new game mode that was kind of like
Uplink.
basketball? That Uplink. That game mode
Wait,
looks like a better version of Blitz. 'Cause
Yeah,
I
that's
thought-
what I thought.
Agreed.
I thought it
was
looked great.
fucking
It is
terrible.
kind of copied, by the way,
It's
just to get that out
Griffball,
of the way.
isn't it?
But Blitz was so bad, and this just
Yeah.
looks more fun and just
I
more
like the
Call of
fact that if you
Duty-like.
throw the ball in someone's face, they can't move. I was like, that's
It's
going to be
risk-
fucking amazing.
You
You watch
should
for
be able to
sniper
catch the ball,
montages.
though.
You watch for sniping also, from all accounts, is really difficult. Like, it's really, really difficult.
It looks
you
like
don't aim
Well,
it
I mean, think about
More
it. Think about
balanced.
Titanfall, right? Sniping is
It
not
looks like
a
Titanfall
viable.
sniping.
Sniping is not a viable option in Titanfall. I rarely get sniped. Maybe once every 3 times I have a 3-hour session, I will run into a sniper. It just doesn't happen because you move too quick, and I think that's going to be a huge issue.
Yeah, I agree. Sorry,
Well, what
carry
I
on.
was going to say is what you guys got to realize, the critics of the theme, let's be fucking honest here right now, Call of Duty's never been realistic, okay? It's always been Quake with a military skin on it. It's you jump 10 feet in the air instead of 50 like Advanced Warfare. It's always been arcadey and dumb. Now they're amping that up and taking the restraints of some more realistic cones of it. With the snipers, for instance, something I said years ago. If you made them all one shot with one shot in the chamber, that changes the dynamic completely. You have to be able to change these variables. But when you're constrained to the type of people who want to say, I want realism. This isn't realistic. No gun has this. No, they're in the future. They can do whatever the fuck they want, basically. And that gets shown with the balance of it. Now, that's not to say they're going to do everything right, but I think the single action, whether it's the sniper or the laser gun, because let's face it, they're hit scan weapons, the same fucking thing either way, that is a balance point that is allowed by the theme of the game. And you have to acknowledge that the theme fixes that. Those of you that are tied to a military aesthetic. It's the same thing with jumping and moving. I probably should have said this before, but if your problem with Call of Duty games is it's not fast enough, well, what do you have to complain about now? You can fucking fly through the air every 2 seconds. I don't understand. You have to, if you want specific things, you have to allow them to fix it and not put stupid restraints on them that aren't feasible to work around.
Yeah,
Realism is the main one, in my opinion.
Am I
I
the only
think-
person who's excited for the single player, the campaign? Because I usually never play them or never even bother trying it. But
I'm excited to play Call of Duty House of Cards. Yes, I am.
it looks cool, though.
Which, by the way, I only started watching like a couple of days ago with Zoe, and I was like, this is the best thing ever. And what's also funny is that I spoke to my flatmate who's much older than me. I was like, House of Cards is incredible. He's like, yeah, it's a remake of a British TV show. I was like, motherfucker, like they shouldn't be able to call it a Netflix original. Even I didn't know that.
Really? It was a book, though, before all that.
No, apparently it's an English TV series, House of Cards.
Well, I heard there was an author that wrote the book House of Cards, or he named it something different. I'm pretty sure it's all based on a novel, but I don't know. Who knows? Your
I hate to leave
flatmate
now.
might know more than me. Who knows?
It was set. The English version was set during the Thatcher era, and the guy was a Tory minister. So that's 30 years ago now.
Right. Now, I'm not saying.
So-
Yeah. Anyway, who cares? But yeah,
Yeah, I
the
was
show is
gonna
fucking amazing. Kevin Spacey is a goddamn boss. I swear to
Yeah.
God, he commands that stage. That is stage presence in a nutshell. It's amazing.
The dark side of charisma, as you know, is a buzzword that I heard the other day. I think it was from like, who is it? Is it about a villain? This person. Oh, it was in a Robin Williams thing, but we'll talk about that later. Yeah, I'm excited to play the campaign just because any time that Kevin Spacey's not on the screen, I feel like I'm going to be ripped off. Like, I don't care about the young, spunky American hero. Couldn't give less of a shit. Don't care.
Communist.
Just give me the fucking, people want power, and that's where I come in. If it's not 9 hours of spacey monologue, I'm going to be disappointed. Like 9 hours of spacey monologue with quick time events.
Watch in it as much as Riley.
Like a Michael Bay film. Press X to explode. Like just him backlit by the explosions that you set off like a fireworks show.
No.
Now I got to get out of here. Thanks for having me on.
Wow, you said virtually nothing.
I tried to give my input on the game talk because usually I don't, but I tried. I attempted.
All right, sweetheart. Well, have fun at band camp at your young Republican convention.
I thought it was just past his bedtime.
We're gonna have to have a conversation with Dad about this to set time away for your podcast appearances because my people will call your people essentially.
Soon they won't pick up the phone from you, Fudo.
All right, see you guys.
Bye, Sneaky.
All right. So
that's disappointing.
Two things that they didn't talk about in the Advanced Warfare reveal. One of which is theater mode is not coming back. We have gotten confirmation from it. I know people are going to be mad because they can't make their fucking cinematographic videos and all that other shit. Yeah. Which I'd rather have a well-functioning game than being able to...
Yeah, me too. Fuck theatre. Oh, look, I made things go in slow motion, but that's why Ed shoots 50 bullets at someone's body, which apparently isn't within the hitbox, and they don't die and they kill him even though he's a split screener. Fuck theatre mode. Fuck bad hit reg.
Speaking of bad hit reg, the other thing that they didn't say fucking shit about, and this is going to make or break this game, is dedicated servers. I cannot see how they can get the gameplay mechanics of hit registration, player models, camera angles down on a peer-to-peer server basis. It's going to fucking suck. I'm going to hate it. If they don't have dedicated servers for this franchise that sells more money than fucking the other franchises that do have dedicated servers like Titanfall and Battlefield and pretty much every other FPS game in existence, then the buck just stops there.
What if they were to say...
going to be dead from day one.
What if they were to say there's too many players, all right, they can't afford it? Obviously, you would say that's bullshit. But what if they said that it's also not really viable to implement on the older consoles and
Fuck the older consoles.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same. Because I don't know about you, Brian, but I think that gaming on the VCR, in general, the connections across any game are better than the 360. Like, for me, they're far superior. Like Ghost, in particular, which has good hit reg anyway. But on the 360, sometimes you can tell that it can't quite play the frames back and there's more lag than there is on the Xbox One. And I'm like, I don't want to play my 360. I want to play a COD on my Xbox One with a good connection that isn't like some form of punishment.
I think if they say there's too many players, that argument's bullshit. Battlefield 4 has so many empty dedicated servers right now that it could hold capacity for as many people that would normally play a Call of Duty game. I guarantee you that. If Battlefield can do that, I don't see why Call of Duty can't.
Is Destiny going to have dedicated servers?
Don't know.
I don't know. See,
because if it did, then that's not an Activision thing.
Good
what do you mean?
Point. Well, it's not an Activision MO to just rip off the
and not
servers.
Invest in dedicated servers.
Right.
That's what I mean.
He's trying to say. But
because they're pushing that game like never before, and if they're expecting it to go massive like they want it to, and it has dedicated servers, then it's not a case of them just wanting to be frugal and earn as much as possible.
Well, it's hard, right? Because it's a different experience in some ways. I don't expect the multiplayer aspect to be as large or to hold or them to even expect the amount of player numbers. I mean, maybe as much as a Halo times in its prime or something. I don't know. I'm talking about my ass, but out of my ass. My ass can't talk well today, but it's apples and oranges. No dedicated
servers for Destiny.
Maybe it is an Activision thing then.
Destiny is, quote, not a dedicated server game, but there is some simulation and coordination running in their server architecture.
There's more information that I would assume they have to house with it being there's so much co-op and shit going on as well. Is that I would assume it's more than just housing servers for hosting games. I don't know. That's just what I think. But anyway,
But yeah, I think without dedicated servers, this game is going to be extremely hard to get the hit detection and all those other things to work out It might be done. Hey, you never know.
I think the standard might be set with this game, and it'll deteriorate over time. That's what I really believe. It'll work fine now, and then 3 or 4 iterations down the line, people will be complaining because the hardware doesn't evolve, and they're maxing out the things they're trying to do, and all of that.
Yeah,
So,
I agree.
Enjoy it now. PC Master Race, we're able to evolve as the games evolve with them if we choose to, whereas on console you're stuck, which is the biggest downside in my opinion. And the main reason why I wanted to go to PC, because I'm like, wait a second, so the last few years of games function like shit because of the consoles? Well, that fucking sucks. And there's nothing you can do to fix that? Sucks. But
yeah. So I guess one last final thing before we move on to other topics. Will you be purchasing this game, or will you wait and see if other people like it first?
Dude, I'm a fucking COD YouTuber. I'm a shooter FPS YouTuber. Of course I'm going to fucking buy the game.
I'm not going to get it on PC because even if I do like it a lot, playing on PC is pretty much worthless as far as I can tell. I mean, just for
Come
my
to the
solo
VCR
experience,
with me and Brian where we can play League Play.
if it blows me away, it might be worth buying and, oh God, giving in to the social pressures of friends who want to pay extra and the $60 a goddamn year just to connect to the online service. My PC brethren will kick me out of the club. I won't be able to come to the meetings anymore.
You can buy an Xbox yearly subscription for like $20. It's like you're an idiot if you pay full price.
Is that
All
a
right, so
workaround
the
or
idiot
what? What are you talking about?
No, you just buy one of the cars that they sell in like on G2A or something like that. Another gaming website that sells these things. You can get it for like next to nothing. They have sales all the time.
I didn't know that, so I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
Frito, you're gonna
my Xbox Live subscription in a long time.
So Frito, you're gonna wait for the reviews to roll in?
I'm going to wait for unspecified amount of time for me to make that decision because it's a huge financial jump, and that money into my PC would be a beautiful thing. That $600 some into my PC puts me into the real Master Race.
Seeing as me and Brian both have VCRs, why don't we start like a Frito VCR donation box on the podcast, and like if you want to feel like you should have an annotation up on screen every episode up until the release of Advanced Warfare that is like Frito's VCR contribution box. And if people want to donate, that's fine. And we haven't spent any of the fucking money on like Steam games for anybody yet. So there are ways of funding your conversion to a console present that aren't as direct as you have.
It's still a lot of money, though. The money could still be put to better use.
It's not so much. Yeah, that's basically what comes down to it, where the purchase decision. I mean, that'd be nice. Because the thing is, I feel shitty about saying that because there is people out there that probably would drop the money just to send. There's probably at least one person crazy enough to just buy me a console because there's multiple people who have said it that they would do it. Just please make COD videos again. This is what you always did.
Just do it.
Come back.
Don't wait for him. Don't wait for Frito to say okay. Just buy it him, send it him, and then he'll have to fucking play it. He'll have to sit there and listen to me and Brian be like, what the fuck?
Fucking spike drones, are you kidding me? Boomerang that in your ass, bitch!
Glenn Schofield, what the fuck?
I'm going to do what I did for Call of Duty Ghosts, which is a couple of days after the release, there's obviously going to be bought people that return this game. So I'm going to go to the game store, going to go pick up a used copy, and then I have 7 days to decide whether I can keep it or return it for full price.
The LeBron decision.
I'm going to do another LeBron decision. This time, though, I won't make assumptions on content. With Ghosts, I was like, I really don't like this game very much. It's got some good things, it's got some things I hate, but at least I can make content on it, There's Infected, so I can go booster busting and all these other things, and none of that ever happened because Infected's fucking terrible and Ghosts in the game is fucking terrible, period.
You see, I think that you're right about that, but I also think there's an element that it's also the complete opposite. I think if you want to stay relevant as a COD, well, not as a COD channel, but like as a gaming channel, then you have to post at least one mainstream game. And if you don't, you run the risk of people stopping watching because you're not using a common experience with your audience for which to then talk shit at them, which is basically what all three of us do. And like, if you don't have that glue, like, look how do you think I enjoyed the last year of Call of Duty Ghosts? Like, no, but I still.
Yeah, but you at least liked it a little bit when you first tried it. Me, I was like iffy about it when I first tried it. I never really liked it at all, and I kept it anyway because I assumed I was going to make content anyway based on it. I would rather not purchase. I would rather play games that I like than don't. I haven't played Call of Duty Ghosts since February. There's no Ghost content on my channel, and I'm still staying relevant with Battlefield 4.
No, that's true, but you post on OP all the time, so you have other avenues. Like, you are famous, famous for being
F-list celebrity.
for being funny.
Yeah.
But you have other outputs to different channels that are known for COD, and you do, whether it's not on your channel because you don't play it, but your voice and COD content is still being produced every week.
That's true. I use other people's Ghosts.
Exactly. You don't have to fucking play the
top 5, the not top 5.
Yeah,
I can rage about it without even playing it. It's genius. It's the best series on YouTube.
But you get to do that. Now, I was talking to Rich Itemp the other day, and he was like, we're just having a friendly conversation. I was like, you need this game to be good, because Rich's audience is really loyal to him, and they've had like 6 Road to Commanders this year on Black Ops 2. But they love him, so it's cool. But he's like, I can't do that for another year.
Yeah.
I can't just do this infinite Road to Commander on Black Ops 2. I mean, it's like, once a game gets like 2 years gone, then you can't really make main content with it. I don't think. At least not every video or the mainstay of your channel. A lot of us need this COD to be good. We need to be having fun.
It's interesting to me. I'm sorry.
No, I'm done.
Okay. COD it's easy views. Okay, there's no other way to say it. It's an easy way to grow, easier than other things, because there's people out there making creative things, original stuff, and it's hard to do that. It's the same reason why it's easy to hop on news stories that happen. Search engine optimization, the standard understanding a baseline for not just Google to help you integrate and grow, but also just the audience to know what the hell you're talking about. So leeching onto the mainstream game is obviously an easier thing to do. So that's that. And I think I speak for all of us that despite how much we enjoy gaming, I would assume we enjoy YouTube more.
Infinitely.
I know Eddie feels that way. I don't know Brian feels that way too. Because Brian's not even that good at games. He's easily the worst person out of the 3 of us. He's terrible. I love you. But you know what I mean? So it's not like he's like, man, I'm a bet. He isn't like me, who's beating his chest about metagames and breaking every single aspect down. And no, he just enjoys playing it casually, right? And a lot of people are like that. But the YouTube side of things are very important to people who post, and we want to succeed and enjoy what we're doing. But the funny thing to me is each game has its own distinct thing that blows up or succeeds well on YouTube. And honestly, I think Ghosts, the biggest thing to really come out of that game above anything else is rage videos. And it makes sense.
Absolutely.
Because the game is terrible, right?
Yeah.
So so the only people who would like COD videos at this point is people getting mad at the crappy game because everybody knows it's terrible. But if the good thing for a guy like me and Drifter and other people as well who are more analytical to it is when there's a lot of depth to explore and a lot of things to debate about. And that's what I said in my other video. You people want, oh, why don't we get your analysis on COD Ghost? Well, you could have been breaking down. There is no metagame. There's nothing to analyze. The game is just shit and boring, and the whole concept is just flawed. There you go. 2 seconds. Don't need to make a year's worth of videos, but Advanced Warfare might have that, where we'll have these debates about, the whole support thing needs to get nerfed to this amount and blah, blah, blah. And there's at least a dialogue that requires to happen that gets people interested, and that is incredibly easy views, especially if you're one of the few people who actually can speak about it intelligently, because there's lots of fucking idiots out there that think they know what the hell they're saying, and they don't, and everyone should be watching me instead. And I know you all want me to do that. I know you want me to be that guy to bring the Dota, StarCraft intelligence of the nerds who play games like that, where you have to understand every single aspect or you're just going to get your shit handed to you.
Management games.
And the inventory management style mentality, and bring that to your Angry Birds shooter, your dive kick 2-button easy mode game. I know you want me to do that for you.
If you think dive kick is an easy game, you're an idiot.
Well, COD is the dive kick of shooters, is my point. I'm not saying...
Okay, right. It's not Street Fighter.
I'd never say COD is... Like, when people say, oh, pro COD is easy. Well, yeah, in comparison, but there's still a skill floor and, things you have to learn. There's... Yeah. That you can play dive kick competitively.
Do you know what? I want you to be posting every other day, and I want to hear you tell jokes that I know are going to make me laugh, while also shitting on idiots. That, as a fan, not a friend, I want to see a Frito video in my sub box where you just rip into either someone or something in a really funny way, and all I know is that since Ghost came out, you've done that a lot less than you were doing in Black Ops 2. Because you were white knighting that game, way ahead of the curve, you were getting the most amount of shit talkers in your comments out of probably anyone that I've ever actually met, and that gave you people don't understand. This is the thing: if you don't like us three, don't leave a shitty comment in our comment section
over and over
because
again.
You're just giving us fuel. You're making us better. I'm like fucking Doomsday. Okay, you kill me, I'll come back and I'll have learned how you've killed me. And you'll do something else, and I'll adapt to that. And eventually, I'll be unkillable. That's what Frito's like, but with shit talking. So don't shit talk him, because it won't end well for you. And I want those videos. I want to see, the video you did last time. We've talked about how great it was. But, I want to see that, every other day. I don't need daily videos from Frito, because it's basically like having a conversation with an American white trash version of me. It's a beautiful thing, but I'm that person too, so I don't need it every day, because I've got Brian's content, to work in there. Which is like a New York, more successful, married, less virginous version of me. But I love that, and people who don't post the newest COD, if you're a shooting channel, it's their enthusiasm. It saps away at your enthusiasm to make content, and that's why I had to do Rage about Ghosts, because of my deep love of games and having fun. And this is Ghosts is about as fun as the Spanish Inquisition. That's honestly, let's.
The Inquisition. Boy, it's fun. The Inquisition.
Yeah, it's terrible. And I had to make content that was making fun of how terrible it was. But when the new game comes out and it's great, that means Frito's going to have the chance to make content about how everyone is stupid about a good game. And I just want to see it. I really want to see it. And I want to see loads of my YouTube friends that, Liam or, Rich, have a game that they can fucking work with.
It's interesting.
See, that is much more of a motivation for me to go pre-order the fucking game than the Day Zero bullshit that the Activision CEO did. That just fucking I'm gonna go pre-order it right now.
Yeah, I'll be honest. In a lot of gaming channels, or at least shooting YouTubers, the most interested I've been in a long time in YouTube has been this past few days, and it's an odd feeling. Where I'm tweeting and thinking and churning and...
Well, it's like I said in my video, I was like, we've all got this ghost hangover where we expect the fucking worst. Like we just got diagnosed with like stage 3 cancer with ghosts, right? That's how much of a traumatic experience it's been. And we're going to see the doctor, and instead of expecting remission, we're expecting stage 4 cancer. And this is the thing that we used to love. This is the game that united us all in our mutual love of how fucking fun it was. And we're so bitter that when something new comes out, we're like, oh, I don't know. And you can see it all over Twitter. Everyone's so hesitant. Everyone's so hesitant because we've been burnt so many times before. And there's a measure of that in my response too, is I really want to love this game. I look at the movie and I go, don't get too excited. Don't get too excited. Just wait till you've played it. Wait until it's been out a month. Play the competitive playlist. If the publics are trash, I know this is going to be better than Ghosts. Like, and with that comes so many of my friends' better enjoyment out of doing YouTube, and I'll get more and more videos. Because more than anything, I don't know if you guys are the same, but I love watching YouTube videos. I fucking love it. I love watching someone who's funny, who is clearly into what they're doing, and the quality of the games that they use for their footage really does affect that. Like, why do you think Wings has spent the past 3 years like being like everything's rubbish? Because he hates the game. He hates it.
See, I thought it couldn't get any worse after Black Ops 2. I despised Black Ops 2, and then Ghosts happened. Now somebody's like, "Oh,
Didn't know how
Ghosts,
good you had it."
It can't be any worse than Ghosts, could it?" And I'm like, you know, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, or whatever the fucking saying is. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not even gonna go there. I'm going to go in with zero expectations, and if it's better than zero expectations, then that's fine. But I'm not going to be this, it can't be any worse than Ghost thing, because I know there could be.
Let's just double down. I can't go broke again. I can't lose my house and everything.
Lightning doesn't strike twice in the same spot, you know?
All gamblers' fallacy aside, the only thing that could be worse than Ghosts is Ghost 2.
I wouldn't be surprised if that never comes to light, if they just scrap the whole concept.
Oh, yeah. If Advanced Warfare doesn't function properly, though, then I'm
much more confident. You know, people say about the fucking VCR, but I'm much more confident in the connections of the Xbox One than I am the 360, because I play both all the time, and the 360 quite a lot of the time is like quite unreliable in terms of lag. So, you know, the same game, I know it's a different version, but I'm playing Ghost on 360 and playing Ghost on Xbox One. The Xbox One version runs far superior to the 360 version. And I think Ghost is a much less taxing game than Black Ops 2. I think you could quite clearly tell while playing Black Ops 2, there are moments where the game's just like, I can't draw these fucking frames quick enough. And if it's on hardware that can actually do that, then it's going to be fine. But I mean, famous last fucking words.
I don't know. It depends on, like I said, even with dedicated servers, right? There are moments in Titanfall when it's a little dodgy to hit detection. Like, there are times when I've been shot, like, when my whole body is, like, immersed in a building and all of a sudden I fall over dead. And I'm just like, how did that fucking happen? And this is the type of movement that Advanced Warfare is going to have.
I agree.
If it's not on dedicated servers, or if the connection algorithm, the matchmaking algorithm, the lag compensation algorithm isn't good, then it's going to drive me crazy, and I'm just not going to play it.
I think that
I
think we have to accept that playing these online games will always have a percentage, a margin of fuck-uppery. Like, there will always... You will never fully get rid of that. There is no perfect netcode. That is a pipe dream. It will never happen. But I think if it's... You know, for me, that was the norm in Black Ops 2. That's why I found it so fucking annoying. Is because I knew when I was host. I knew. I know how the game behaves off host, and I know how the game behaves when I'm on host. And I did this comparatively with the same groups of players, game after game after game, and knowing, and I could tell, I'm host this game, and if I back out, I guarantee it says migrating host, and it would, like 90% of the time. I had almost flawless like connection feel. Like I could
You
just
had the host pro perk. You knew exactly when you were host.
Well, no, it wasn't even Host Pro. It was like Host was the worst thing that could happen to me in Black Ops 2. Like the worst. It's unplayable. Like I can't go even against shitters, like proper shitters, and they just like totally outgun me in every gunfight. I'm like, no, this is not. I just went 30-1, like all guns. This is not fair. I should not be getting shit on. I don't think that's going to happen with the next gen console. I hope. Like I can obviously tell that I'm like the romantic like person who wants to believe in the good of things. Yeah. I'm like I've always wanted to love COD. It's just you've made shit ones. Like there's been something wrong. I don't want to be a hateful, rage-filled person. I want to play games and love them. And there's just shit about them that pisses me off.
Yeah, I could deal with, dodgy things here. Because in Titanfall, it doesn't happen very often, but it does happen more than 0 times. I could tolerate it if it's, like, good enough. And, that game runs on dedicated servers, so I can't imagine how much... I can only imagine how much worse it'll be if they're still doing the same peer-to-peer bullshit that they keep doing.
Yeah, so. I think a reasonable expectation for a decently made netcode functioning multiplayer is like 1 in 10 games is going to be shit. Like 1 in 10 games you're going to be fucking dancing and skipping and killed round corners and all that kind of crap that's really annoying. If it was 1 in 10 and they're 10 minutes each and you played those 10 games in a row and you had one bad game, you wouldn't remember it. It wouldn't even be a thing. Like, you'd just be, oh yeah, I had that shitty game where I did just, like, instead of, like, dominating the lobby, I just sort of did a bit average. You wouldn't care.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's a threshold to it, obviously.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
The crappy thing is, like with Black Ops 2, you are one of the few types of people that I would say actually have that issue, where it's constant host, like, problems. But the shitty thing is when there is what I would say is a somewhat minority of people who have that, where every single host is shitty for them, there's the legions of everyone else who don't know how to detect it properly and think they do, have self-confirmation bias, and don't give with a grain of salt the nips and tucks of natural netcode, where before you said we'll never be perfect, I think technology needs to really like triple or quadruple before it could be. But for the practically speaking, there's too many things at play. It's not just your connection. It's not just the game. It's not just all sorts of things. Hiccups happen, right? And the level of acceptability to that is the threshold for each person. And also a lot of people just, especially COD gamers, look for excuses to not analyze the reality and want to blame it on things, which is what I always fought against. But there is many cases like yours where there's actual proof of every time you're host, it's shit. And the counter I have to it has bad net code across the board is that I played on really slow connections, a moderate connection, a super fast connection, and unless you have that host problem or other things, it was give or take to other CODs. It was much more comparable. But there is spikes, and there's something wrong there, obviously. There's no way to deny it. But
I mean, I just don't think I've got so much. The comedy clips that are on my channel, like the ones that were just like almost hilariously bad, like the moments where I'm host, something ridiculous happens, like I shoot a guy a million times, nothing happens. He knifes the air. He's finished his animation, then walks into me, and then I die, and I'm host, or the guy who's skipping like a million, like one picture every second, kills me instantly, takes loads of damage, I rage quit, I'm host, like all that kind of stuff is well documented on my channel, and part of the reason I'm pretty sure that David Von Hart even replied to me when I said, I didn't even do it angrily, I was like, dude, I can't play your game, it's so frustrating. And I sent him a video, and he replied to me and said, "Would you be willing to set up a test?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And then he used somebody else because I couldn't be online when he asked. But he did reply to me. He knew by watching that video that's not supposed to happen. Like there's something going on either with your region or you've fallen into a pool that like there's there's this thing that happens where I can tell that it's proximity based, like some of the code is proximity based, so you'll be fine, and then when you walk within a certain distance of a player that you can't see, you'll micro stutter, and what will happen is that it's like if you're mid sprint, you'll slow down, like the entire game slows down, but it seems like other people speed up, and what that's doing is you're being pushed back in the clock of the game. You're being pushed back. No, you weren't here. You're actually here. And by then you're dead. And I'm like, that's so unfair to me as host that there's nothing, I didn't choose to do this. If that happens within like proximity to another player, I mean, that's just alleged, but like it seems to make sense. Like that's how they would do it. And I was just like, this is unplayable to me. Like I can accept, like, take this for example. I've been playing a lot of Battlefield 4 on Xbox One. I've been playing a lot with Rich, and there are games where I cannot win a gunfight. Like, I cannot, with the best guns in the game, like Ace 23, snap on someone, start shooting, get one hit marker, instant dead. Like, instant, no, none of that, just instant dead. And I do go, is that me? Like, I do ask that question. I'm like, is it just that I'm shit? And I try and, like, I look back at the footage and I analyze, like, what could I have done differently? And sometimes it is just you snap on, you shoot, you're at a ping disadvantage. That what they've done is counted more.
And that's a byproduct of these casual games, though, Eddie. So it's something I think people don't give enough credence to, where it's not a well-oiled machine for competitive function. Where you know what I mean? These are byproducts of casual experience games. Just to break it to you, where those few seconds matter that much. Whereas, those things happen in Counter-Strike and stuff, but there's a lot of other ways to combat that when the connection and the whole game's just built a different way, right?
No, I agree. And like, I don't necessarily just like, what I'm trying to say is I don't react to it like a COD game and just have self-serving bias and go, oh, I'm the one being ripped off. Because a lot of people say that, don't they? A lot of people are like, oh, the lag fucked me over. No, you probably missed a few shots, whatever. Like that.
Because you don't know when it helps you either. That's the problem.
Yeah, you can't see the other way around. So you're just like, oh, when it works for you, that's because I'm good, but when it works against me, it's because the game's bullshit. I understand that. But like, I do try and look at, and it's really weird, like from game to game with the same players, players in Battlefield lobbies, they drop out and stuff and more filter in. And then the next game, it just feels like I just shoot 2 bullets at people and they just fall over. And I'm like, is that what it looks like? When that happens to me in a 1v1, is that what it feels like for that guy? Like he's got on me, he shot once, and I've just instantly melted him. Is that? And I think it must be, that's just what it is, and we have to accept that. And I think I'm getting more adult at accepting that. The more I see,
it only took you 30 years.
Yeah.
It's just like, the video that JD made about, the sniping is bullshit in Black Ops 2 kind of thing, where I told, I think we said this on the podcast, or we might not have, but everybody remembers the times that you got bullshitted by a sniper that shouldn't have hit that shot. But we rarely remember the times when it's a one-on-one gunfight, close engagement, this guy pulls out a sniper rifle, and you're just like, get the fuck out of here, fam. What are you doing with that thing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we remember the time where, are you fucking kidding me? That bullet trail is over my left shoulder. The gun wasn't even pulled up at that point. The muzzle flash came 3 frames later. Like, I remember those moments more than the, sniper peasant, get out of my way.
Like, and you don't notice the amount of times that you'll go against a sniper and take a hit marker. Like, because COD's so quick, your brain just goes, I'm still alive, and discards the information. Like, it doesn't process, that guy just shit on me. It just goes, I'm still alive, kill him. Like, you don't remember that. It's impossible. COD is so quick. Like, you have to be thinking so quick that it's just gone. And you don't think. Like, I snipe in a lot of games, and sometimes that's the only way I can have fun if the core game is annoying me. And it's never been... I think Black Ops 2 is the easiest it's ever been. Actually, that's my personal opinion as someone who uses sniper rifles. I think especially with a DSR 50, like if you don't even have to be like quick scoping that much. If you just sort of like go around every corner sort of like half pre-aiming in, like making the cone smaller. So if anyone walks in while you're already half the way in, like you've already shaved off 0.2 of the scope in time. And if you're doing that and it kills like to fucking anywhere, like on them. I think it's easy. I think it's too easy, and I mean that's saying as someone who snipes a lot in loads of games. So I understand why people are frustrated in Black Ops 2, but Advanced Warfare ain't going to be that way. I can tell you that much from watching a FaZe member get shit on by randoms at a press event. It's not going to be that way.
They'll also be
There is a
powerful.
one-shot pistol, though.
It's still possible to dick on people with it, but there's a lot more ways to combat it where it's not as simple as you were saying. Prepare the quickscope vortex around every corner. Oh, you're screwed. Like you walked into it. Whereas the Advanced Warfare won't have that. But the last thing I want to say in response to everything you guys were saying was like when Brian was talking about the muzzle flashes and bullet trails and stuff. It's another thing I have problems with when people pull these false positives as well, because the actual function nuts and bolts of the game has very little to do with the graphics. You have to be Neo through the Matrix in that way, because the bullet trail, so to speak, isn't connected to the hit scan at all. It's just a graphic that displays and it does not accurately show where the hit scan went. So when people say, oh, the bullet's no, it's not. It's not even the bullet. What are you talking about? Or the muzzle flash and stuff. None of that stuff, because you got to understand all these functions are working on top of the core shooter mechanics. And it's not representative of... I said this to somebody on Twitter. For those of you who are familiar with Plato's cave allegory, if you will. It's just very philosophical way to look at video games, but Plato's cave...
the three of us in this call then, and nobody else.
Plato's cave allegory was a way of...
Is he gone?
I don't know if he's gone.
Oh, shit.
No,
Why
you're
do we
back.
keep dropping off? Okay, the cave allegory. It was the idea of exploring what is good, logic, truth, things like that. And the people down... us, normal people, look at the shadows...
Oh, you've gone again.
I'm going to keep talking because it's recording. The shadows of the thing itself, where the truth is not accessible to us, but we just see the remnants of the shadows of what the light's showing onto it. Look it up on Wikipedia.
Right.
It explains it really good. That's kind of what COD Ghost is, or Call of Duty is like, or any shooter's like. The function of the game is not representative necessarily by the visual graphics you see. It's behind
The
all that.
evidence. Yeah.
It's not, so that's the problem where I don't know. That's just the point.
But at the same
perspective of that.
At the same time, though, that is the only evidence that we're presented, and if those functions don't work properly, that adds to the perception of this didn't work, or this is broken, or this is not how it's supposed to be. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be in a situation, like, I don't rage over every death, but I do rage over deaths where I'm like, I don't think that should have happened. You know what I mean? Based on the evidence and what was shown to me.
Yeah, based on the visual stimuli that you had to react to, you reacted appropriately in your estimation, and then an undesired outcome came surpringly out of nowhere.
Right. If the game isn't grounded in, some semblance of reality in that way, where, I understand the parameters of the game and this is what should have happened, but it didn't, then that's when,
Right. I agree. I think they should be fused as tightly as possible. I totally agree. But I'm just saying, you have to understand the two examples of that, where it would be nice if the visuals tied directly to the function and it was as common sense as real life, where you hit something and it falls over and you understand that completely, and there's no like multiverse theory going on where the lag compensation and there's some sort of spectrum and the particles can be in different places at different times, which is essentially how lag compensation works. It's a weird fucking thing, and you have to have all those variables, and the common person who's playing doesn't understand that shit. And you have a point. They shouldn't have to. The game should be more obvious and clear cut, because we're playing a fucking game here. We're not trying to dissect the complexities of the Matrix. Not everybody's me. I understand that. But when you're limited with shitty hardware and you're the last of the dying breed of consoles, this is the kind of shit that happens when you're overly ambitious.
Yep.
Okay, forever long on Advanced Warfare. Can we stop talking about COD now? We got all of our boners. We rubbed them all off. Most of the show wasted talking about nerd shit. But let's go up into the dumbass questions section. Brought to you this week by Sergeant J, friend of the show, makes fun, interesting, diverse types of content. Interested in
probably Advanced Warfare. I don't know his opinions on it, but he's a nice guy, has a sense of humor, does airsoft stuff. The hit detection is great in real life. Just you can't complain about lag compensation in those, real life airsoft videos. Just he goes on killing spree sometimes. It's amazing. Just mows down everybody, calls in a chopper, and it launches BBs from the sky. Really fucking weird. But check him out. Link in the description and annotated on screen. The dumbass question of the day was actually also submitted by Sergeant J, who, like most of you, watch the show on a regular basis. And his question is, if you had everything in the world at your disposal, what would you do to mark your name in history? How philosophical. Like, nice guys who sponsor the show come up with the best questions, don't they?
He asked me this one question for one of my Q&A videos one time. So I guess I'll go first while you guys think about it, because I already thought of my answer way back when. And it would be to create my own country, Swaziland, named after Swaziland in South Africa. This would be called Swaziland, where my progressive attitudes and feelings and ideas about things would be allowed to flourish to fruition, and it would be a experiment, a societal experiment, to show all of the people that don't agree with me on my political stances and things like that I'm fucking right and you're fucking wrong. Come live in Swaziland. We have beachfront properties. Let's fucking go.
What would you name the capital? Bleeding Heartsville?
Liberilia.
Yeah.
So you would basically kind of pull the Church of Latter-day Saints, essentially, and take all of your bullshit philosophy and move it to a distinct state, like Utah. That's what you're saying.
Right, but be my own. I don't even know if I want to run it. Like, that's the sad thing. Like, I'm so lazy that I bought a condo. Like, I don't even do my own yard work. Like, I don't know if I want the responsibility of running this country. I just want to see if it'll work.
But you want to put your name on it, though.
I want to put my name on it. I mean, it's just like the United States, right? I don't want to have to do anything. I just want to put my name on it, like, the people.
Does anyone actually really want to do anything, though? I mean, come on. Like, do you know what I want to do? I want to eat fried chicken, get laid, and make my friends laugh. If I could do that for the rest of my life, I would be happy.
So essentially, you're the European Bernie Mac.
Essentially.
That was a racist joke, because fried chicken. That's kind of an interesting thing, because I don't think you necessarily need a lot of resources to make a mark in history, and I think I'm so humble that the mark on history I want to make I don't think require resources necessarily. It's ideas and humor, and those are things that we value. Schwantz obviously took the question seriously, but I struggle to think of it that way, because I'm so grounded in reality. And the things I value are the same things I've always valued. And even in my small way, by means of Twitter and YouTube, just getting my ideas out there and cultivating whatever things that I want to create, that's way more important to me than anything else that could be left in history, whether it's, I don't know, wars, exterminating people, shooting up a shopping mall, all those other things that put your name in history. I want to be known as even in my own small circles, to maybe family and a small following, as Christopher Hitchens type, Carlin type, and maybe, even if that's confined to video games, whatever. Like, I'm just enjoying it, and so I'm kind of living my dream now, in a way, at a much smaller scale.
Living it right now.
I'm not that ambitious, I guess, and I kind of wish I was. But I blame my parents, because when I was a kid, they would say things like, even if you're a garbage man, we'll still be proud of you. Like, the expectations are so low right from the get-go. Just don't become a drug addict. Well, sorry, Eddie. But don't. My brother was a drug addict, so that's not necessarily a joke to him. But when you grow up and all my cousins were knocked up by teenage years and nobody went to college, it's like, I haven't been built with that American work ethic. I'm sorry. We're just happy with existing and shooting the shit. So I don't know. That's my incredibly terrible answer to your question. Sorry.
You wouldn't want to, like, eliminate religion or anything like that? Like,
but
no
I'm already
religion
working
in
on that.
Swaziland?
I'm already working on that in my
it?
own way, to be honest.
All right.
I'm writing a book against religion right now. It's kind of forming thousands of words, and I don't know how I'm shaping it necessarily, because based on my lack of why the fuck, I'm not going to tell you my book proposal here. But anyway, I'm writing a book on the whole concept of them owning morality and why we don't need it. Whether it's going to come through in a novel or a comedic musing, I don't know exactly. But I'm been working on, all that time where Eddie's wondering, like, man, I really wish Frito would just make videos talking shit about COD. Instead of doing that, I've been writing and stuff, doing meaningful things. I'm still expressing myself and destroying stuff just in the privacy of my own home where kids can't watch. But
who would you want to read the audiobook version of your book eventually?
Living or dead, like in the dream ideal world, or
anybody? Yeah, anybody.
Probably me.
My voice is
what
amazing.
an arrogant fuck.
Yeah, that was. My character is incapable of saying a less arrogant answer. I think my fans on the internet would be very disappointed if I didn't answer it that way. Just a shout out to the fans out there. The self-serving elitists like me. I gotta be a role model for them. I developed characters like Sneeko. I can't be humble and say I don't know, Obama or something. And stutters every few seconds through it. Works his way through. Morgan Freeman, maybe. Eddie, if you had everything in the world at your disposal, what would you do to mark your name in history?
Right. Okay, so...
And don't say the sarcastic italic font going the other way. We've heard that 1,000 times.
That's a great idea. You should do
It
that.
is a
He
great
would
idea.
change the internet.
Like using these special weapons as a beta for new patch balances. I'm full of them.
That is his mark on
Penny.
history. Hundreds of years later.
His mark on history. I was the guy that came up with that. No, I suppose... Oh, one of my earbuds. To answer this, I've got to go like a bit back in history. When I was a drug addict and my life was in complete tatters, one of the reasons why it was so was because I'd so fundamentally broken my own heart that I believed that all human achievement to a large extent was an illusion, and that everything that we take as concrete and real now one day won't be. It will all just be dust. So that renders any sort of like permanent meaning comic. It renders it funny. So with that in mind, when I got better, that way of thinking actually made me sick. Don't go down that rabbit hole. You will find nothing but unhappiness. But even when I got better, I still believe that. It's just true that at some point on a long enough time scale, everything that we do and the way that we conceptualize what meaning is irrelevant. However, thinking of that, I would like something... The mark that I'd like to leave is something... I would like to create a piece of art that people truly cherish, that they hold close to them when they're desperate and unhappy and need joy in their life. Like that is the most real I've ever been about what I want to do with what I love doing. And if I can do that, it's not going to be in gaming videos, but if I can do that in the big boy world and I create something that people love and they cherish and it means something to them, then I'll be happy. And I'll be happy if I don't quite do that, or if it doesn't quite meet up to my own expectations. But as long as I try and complete something, then I feel that I haven't wasted my fucking time.
So how many people would it need to be? Would it be just one person, or would it need to be like a quorum of people?
Well, it's kind of weird, because I've made videos about depression and dealing with what it's like when you like your life being a complete fucking wreckage isn't just a concept that you hear in a Keith Richards song. It's actually your existence, and how I dealt with that. There are a few people that have said that to me already, like, I really loved this video. I listened to your stuff, and it's really kind messages. And I don't say this all the time, because then you come off like an egotistical prick and you think yourself important, and I'm actually not. But like, if I think it will be like a novel. Actually, I think like a novel is the only art form where you have complete control, and I'm nothing if not a little fucking Asperger's and a complete control freak. So if I could do that and write something and create a world and characters that people like. I respect the hell out of J.K. Rowling because that's what she did. If you don't know, like she was a single mom and her life was a total fucking mess, right? And
on welfare.
yeah, on
Wrote Harry
yeah,
Potter on her downtime when she was wait staffing.
yeah, like, and she just took all the poison that the world could throw at her and made something beautiful out of it that people love. And I know a lot of people shit on Harry Potter, but fuck you, man. Like, she made so many childhoods that much brighter and more enjoyable and more fun that I respect the fucking hell out of her. And I would love to do something like that. It would not be the next Harry Potter, but, you know, like, I would love to create a piece of art that was so joyful that it did that for people. That is the honest truth. That is what I would do, and that doesn't require all the resources. That's the other thing. The reason why I'd want to do that is because I can do that. I don't need all the superfluous stuff. If I work hard enough and dream long enough and just write it down and then edit it and refine it and make it better, I know I could do that. I know I could write a book that wasn't a complete piece of shit. I know I could do it. So, you know, it's just a case of when do I do that? You know, and like Frito said, I'm kind of living the dream. Like, I film projects with, like, most of my jobs are in fashion, so I'm just surrounded by, like, these bony hot chicks that don't have any men to talk to apart from ugly bald guys like me.
And gay guys if they're in fashion.
Yeah, and gay guys, you know, so that's kind of cool. And the money's not terrible, and I do YouTube and people like it. So for me, that's great. You know, I am kind of living it. And I've written like 15,000 words of this book already. So it's not like it's just a dream. It's like it's something that I do all the time. It's like it will be my life's work. Whether, you know, it'll ever see the light of day, it doesn't really matter, you know.
You got to keep in mind, too, not everybody's lucky enough to be a J.K. Rowling and get the praise while you're alive, have it be mainstreamly accepted. Like that, I mean,
yeah.
I think where you're coming from and what I would be so pretentious to say to connect with you, if we can have a moment for a minute, is what a true artist is, right? That's what, as get your John Lennon comparisons aside and everything, but that's what true art, I think, should be, if we can be so elitist to judge, is going through those motions and swinging for the fences, but where that fence isn't necessarily success. It's the swing. You know what I mean? It's not so much that the ball hits beyond the fence, but I'm sorry, baseball analogy. Does this make sense? Do we need to put this in a soccer ball for you?
Yeah, no, there's
but just the swing of it, the form and the process of going through that is the beauty of it.
Yeah, I mean, my dad, in case you want to know what my actual name is, I shouldn't say this, but my dad is quite a famous painter, right? I'm not wealthy because of I'm not wealthy. Like, I spent a lot of my life financially impoverished, and he learned to paint late, like when he was like 40 or something, you know, when I was a teenager. So I haven't seen any of this money, but he's very successful now. And this is the dad that I don't talk to like that often. And when I last saw him, we had this kind of like meeting of minds where he was this is my dad's so pretentious, right? So we're sitting in this like room watching an old black and white movie because that's the only thing that we really connected with when I was a young child and he was my dad, was watching old noir films, and I loved them. I don't know what it was, but I just loved them, and I could watch them over and over again, and he could too. And we were watching this film, we were having this thing that we do, which is the only like form of connection we have, and it was in a freezing cold room, and I'm just like, it's cold in here. I'm just going to grab a blanket. And my dad's the pretentious prick just turns around to me and says, you know, it's not the same without the pain. And I'm like, who does that work on? You know?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
No, I feel you, man.
I've got it in me. I know I've got that ability to do that in me, but I just, you know, I'm still on my way. I'm still learning, you know. And in a way, this is what's funny about my dad and that experience, is that he's kind of right. It's like, you can't make great art until you've suffered agony. You don't know what joy is until
Unless you get lucky, I guess. But
well, I don't reckon you can. I don't reckon that many, to make great art, to make deep human things, I don't think you can do that until you've like looked down the barrel of a gun, metaphorically. Like I just don't think you can. So those people who suffer a lot, and then come through it, they make the best stuff because it's the most human. Like everyone can relate to that, even if it's like, the people who are relating to it aren't suffering that badly. They'll equivalate their suffering to what's happening. They'll have empathy, and when people do that with your work, it creates a bond that is not easily destroyed. The reason why everyone, when they read the last novel in Harry Potter and why they see the last film, is they understand the tragedy of Snape's character. And they understand the pathos and the suffering, the silent, noble suffering that character has undergone to paint this image to the world for the greater good, right? Because he hasn't hated Harry, spoilers, he hasn't hated Harry the whole time. He's not a villain. He's the bravest hero. He's had to be this piece of shit to the world so that the ultimate evil would believe him. And then he just fucking dies alone, and luckily for him, the people that he does it for get to see why. But that's such a beautifully written character, and J.K. Rowling can only write that because she knows what it's like to be alone, not figuratively being bitten by dying alone and and having no one recognize your efforts. That's why she can write that scene. It's not because she got lucky. It's because she's been through that human shit. So with all the reasons, yeah,
I'm just saying. I think there's a few small instances where people strike lightning. I think that's mathematically. That's all I was saying as a mathematical proposition. That I mean, like the M. Night Shyamalans of the world or something, right? That's kind of what I mean.
The twist guy,
right? So, like The Sixth Sense was great. Everyone loved it. Let me try to make that again every single movie, but do it worse without any of the beautiful words Eddie just used.
Yeah, and then put myself in the movies as the writer, as the hero. No, you're going to movie jail.
Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is also a great segue into the other huge news story of this week regarding, somebody who can do art because they have suffered and they know what it's like with the passing of Robin Williams. So we should.
And I think
discuss.
this will be, because this is so important, I think, to cover today. This will be our last topic. We are coming close to time, but this happened this week. We probably should tackle this. So everybody probably knows Robin Williams died to suicide, asphyxia. He choked himself to death is what that means. I will mention, not pushingly, but there is such a thing as autoerotic asphyxia, which is a method of masturbating while choking yourself. And I'm not saying that that's what he did. I'm just saying if it was, I don't think we would find out. So just throwing that out there, not to be a dick, but I don't know if the media's spin on the story is. I just don't inherently want to trust what everyone says.
You mean the tragic tortured clown thing?
Right, which I know is a fact because we can go back and forth. We're going to talk about this article of calling it cowardly or not because that's Shep from Fox News got in trouble for that, and I want to actually defend that position. But he obviously struggled through shit in his life with alcohol and cocaine and all this other stuff, and just the way he performs, you can almost smell it and taste it. It's palpable, and it goes on with the pain and everything that's required to even be any kind of artist.
Much like Philip Seymour Hoffman too, right?
Yeah, and people express that in different ways, and I'm just saying the type of guy who wants to explore the maximum levels of pleasures that can combat your inner struggle. I don't know if he tried to kill himself. I'm just saying it's plausible to me that maybe he tried autoerotic asphyxia and no one wants to mention it. I've never heard anybody say it, but he did a fucking movie where it was World's Greatest Dad, where his son it was a dark comedy, much more dark than comedy, I would say, but his son committed suicide, was a dirtbag through autoerotic asphyxia, and the father, Robin Williams, was an author that nobody respected.
wrote a death letter and blah blah blah. And I'm not saying like he did that movie, now he has that idea to try it, but a guy that's always searching for the next big high, whether that's because he's depressed or he is an addict or whatever, I wouldn't put that past him, theoretically speaking. But that's just, I don't know. You can chime in on that. Otherwise, I'm going to switch it over to Shep and the whole concept of.
We'll never know. Like, it's just like, well, it could have been. I wouldn't. It's within the realm of possibility. I wouldn't be surprised. But on the other hand, I wouldn't be surprised if it was just a case of someone who has dealt with demons for a long time, just eventually just wanted to stop fighting. Actually, I can have a lot of sympathy from that point of view, and let's move on to Shep. So
okay, well let me pull up the article before you respond, and I will mention too. I'm going to make a video about this, and it actually probably will be out before this show, so it's kind of weird that like you guys won't know my full attack on it. But I'm actually, for once, believe it or not, my approach is to try to put comedy first over offensiveness. I'm trying this out, putting the shoes on, see if it works.
It's a new avenue.
Because usually in my and this is the development of the artist or whatever. If I could just make this about me for a second, but. I think the best comedy is comedy, edge, and truth in that order. And I think for a long time, comedy's been like last for me on that list, where it's been more about offensive, truth, and then might be a little comedy mixed in. So I'm trying to refrain it. On this show, I can be an asshole, but because it's in the context of my friends. But anyway, the video, we'll see how that turns out. Probably will make a lot of people mad, hopefully, because then you get more views. But Shep Smith, is his name Schiff? Yeah. Shepard Smith, who is a Fox News anchor, said in passing remarks, giving the almost cliche or justifiable, however you want to word that, eulogy of someone who just committed suicide, a Robin Williams type, any tragic character like this, where we respect their art. He gave all of those things, but he had this little word in there mixed in where it was clear he wasn't necessarily calling him a coward, but he was kind of just riffing on the concept of suicide itself and saying whether it be depression or a cowardly way out or things like that. And he eventually apologized. So our conversation, I don't think we have to really debate him particularly because he's from fucking Fox News. But the point is, whenever you mention this word coward with suicide, I honestly hate the backlash for it. I really do. And the reason is because everyone assumes that the word itself somehow qualifies his entire life and his entire existence. But I don't think it should. Because when Eddie can say in one breath that he didn't want to fight anymore, to me, and I'm sorry if this offends you, but that is a cowardly solution to the problem. And I think we should be okay with accepting that. And the reason is, otherwise, I feel we're being kind of pro-suicide. Is suicide a negative thing or not? Is it a reasonable solution to a problem or not? Do we live in Japan where it's honorable after you fuck up to just off yourself and you get more honor that way?
Okay.
That's the problem I have with it. And I assume you bleeding hearts would disagree and give me good debate.
Let me counter. So as someone who, I think I've mentioned this before, but my older brother committed suicide. So as someone who's dealt with like the reaction or the fallout from something like that, my feelings, a lot of people said to me, "Oh, you must be so angry at him," and I never was, because he had the last years of his life were fucking tragic. Like, he got spiked with LSD and he basically went crazy and was like schizophrenic and delusional, and like his entire experience was a nightmare. And he has a young son, and and had a wife, and just like he couldn't function as a human being anymore, so he just like completely threw all that away, and people were like, "Oh, that's cowardly, he took the easy way out." And I think on one level you have to accept that there is an element of cowardice in the decision to not want to fight anymore. But on the other hand, the one that balances this thing and leaves you with something more complex and something that we can't just solve and put in a box and go, well, this is this. Suicide is this. It's also kind of really fucking brave to just go, I'm going to take a giant leap into the unknown, even if that means that I don't exist anymore. Like, it's kind of, I don't know if I would have the courage to kill myself. Like, that's probably not a pleasurable experience. Like, there's a certain amount of courage in that action. So it's both brave and cowardly. And that's why people find it so upsetting, because its nature is complex and difficult, and we can't ever just go, that's solved, and put it in a box and put it away. Like, the reasons why, if we take the news's reading of Robin Williams' suicide is correct, say they're not just bullshitting, like, and he was this tragic, like, the clown that made us laugh all the time, but we never noticed the tears, all that kind of absolute cliche bullshit. But if it was the truth, and actually there was just an incredible amount of darkness that followed him around that he had to live with all the time, I don't begrudge him just being like, nah, fuck this. I don't. And those are my values. I don't begrudge someone ending their own suffering. I don't necessarily have a problem with that. Obviously, with the Japanese, like, I have dishonored my family, like, cliche suicide, I think that's, like, more societal pressure. But as long as it's his life, ultimately. And it's the ultimate freedom, in a way, is to be like, nope, I don't want this anymore. I don't want to feel this anymore. I refuse. I refuse to be suffering. I will end it now. And in that way, I have to accept it. I might not like it. I wish he was still alive. I wish I wish people who I've known who've killed themselves were still alive. But I have to respect their decision. And I can't characterize their character in its entirety as a coward.
Right. And I like I said when I entered this, that I think we should be honest with the language, though, and that's my issue, because I don't think calling the action itself cowardly diminishes his life of beauty and helping in children's hospitals and all that. I don't think it diminishes that, but at least what you did, what I don't see anybody doing, is admit that you yourself find it to have that bit of courageousness to commit suicide. But I don't want to empower suicide with that way. I in certain circumstances, I'm totally for you. I'm totally with it. When you have the parameters of, say, illness, or if there isn't fallout with people you have to provide for and issues like that. But if you're doing it because the conflict within yourself is too much, and so you're going to defeat that by killing yourself, the action might take courage to, and it's not, I don't think jumping into the unknown, I think, is a rather vague and it's not honest way of we know what happens. You fucking die and you're gone, right? That's what happens. Unless he thinks he's going to heaven. If you're a Catholic, he's going to be burning in hell forever. Keep that in mind. But I think that we know what happens. You don't exist anymore. You end that temporary pain. And that is rather selfish in the grand scheme of things, and it lacks perspective, which I find distasteful, because third world countries where people starve and struggle to survive, they don't have the luxury to have this broken perspective of riches and glamour and social pressures and all that. They're just fucking struggling to survive. If somebody's depressed, it's like you're starving. You don't have time to be depressed. That's my issue. It's the lack of perspective, and I think we need to attack it with the honesty of, because calling it cowardly, in my opinion, reduces suicide in the way of you have to force that perspective to the world, and it's you're making it about you and not about humanity and your family and everything else.
I don't think. Right, sorry. Go ahead, Brian.
No, I was going to say I completely disagree. I think that depression is a relative term, right? People can say, oh, how could Robin Williams be depressed? He's got all this money, he's got beautiful children, he has things that most people, in third world countries would aspire to have. The problem is when you have an illness, a mental illness, where you've tried everything. You've tried to mask the pain with alcohol, you've tried to mask it with drugs, you've tried legal drugs, you've tried therapy, you've tried every single different thing that you can possibly do in order to make yourself better.
And video games.
And video games.
He was a massive video game fan. Why do you think his daughter's name's Zelda?
I don't think that doing that suicide is necessarily a wrong thing in this particular scenario.
Okay, but
if you have an illness,
I didn't say wrong. I never said wrong. That's my issue.
I also don't think it's selfish either. I think
okay, you might have a bigger point with that. But combating those issues, okay, when he was fighting them, what would you call it? Cowardly or brave? When you're fighting the issues that plague you, is it cowardly or brave? Is the woman who is supporting is a single mother working 2 jobs and is depressed?
Again, you're relative. The depression and pain is relative.
Correct, but cowardly is just a word. It doesn't quantify his entire life. It isn't. I'm just quantifying the decision of suicide, where it is the lack of combating your problems. It is the refusal to fight. That's what cowardly means. It doesn't mean that's my issue with this. I think it's more to do we don't understand what coward means. That's my thing, because I understand everything's fucking relative. But problem X, and you choose to bypass that problem and not fight down the channels that you already were your entire life, it's not about how big or how little it is. It's about refusing to fight it. That's the issue.
But imagine, like, I know it's difficult, but imagine if your life or your broken perspective or your mental illness made that living your life and being able to function were an exceptionally long war that you already knew the outcome of. You knew you cannot win. How many brave victories did Robin Williams win throughout his life against himself to lose the war ultimately? Right? Because we'll never know those things. We'll never know how many times.
But
sorry?
you I would say tons of them, millions of them, infinite amount. But yeah. you take the value of those victories away when you all of a sudden say that the opposite of those decisions isn't the opposite of bravery. All of those things were brave, and the final decision was the lack of bravery.
No, I think sometimes doing whatever you need to do to stop yourself suffering requires bravery. I think we all have character traits that we would consider not unflattering. What's the word I'm trying to look for? We have elements of us that are self-harming, right? And sometimes it takes courage to take action against those parts of you that are harming yourself. Like wanting to get back, this is all addiction stuff, so maybe it's not quite so relevant here, but it's like wanting to take action against the part of you that ails you. To a certain extent, to some people, I think the ultimate extreme of that is taking their own life. And I'm not saying it's right. I'm not at all. But I'm also. I'll use my brother as an example. I'm not angry at him for leaving his son behind or his wife. I'm not angry at him for not wanting to live in a world just because I was in it. Just because he left people behind. Fuck no. I don't know what his life was like. I don't know what was going on in here. How can I possibly judge someone who was so tortured that they went, nothingness is preferable to this? Because that's what that's the, when I say bravery, like that's what I mean, is like no matter what my opinion of how they live their life or what they left behind, I can't ever know what it's like to think that that's a good idea, because I don't, and probably thankfully up until this point haven't yet. Because I don't think within any person of relative or, even people with quite high intelligence, depression is quite common. So I don't think I don't see suicide as something that is like, oh, that'll never happen to me, or that'll never happen to people that I know and love. It's a thing that humans do. You know, and sometimes the smarter you are, the more brilliant your mind, the sharper the knives you use against yourself. You know, like that's just part of it. And I can't ever just look at someone posthumously who's made that decision and gone, that was cowardly. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm not on the inside of their head. I don't know what they were going through. I can't use my experience to judge theirs.
That still assumes that the word cowardly is judging him, which I think is an incredible improper use of the term. Because if we can call fighting, it's as simple as resisting the problem as bravery and not resisting anymore as the opposite of that. It's not a judge. It's at least you take that position where you are acceptable.
I don't think
suicide.
it's so black and white though. I don't think that resisting equals this and not resisting equal. I don't think it's so
I don't
black
think that,
and white either. I
yeah,
think
because
there's a lot of
suicide
gray.
is taking the ultimate action. It's taking action. It's not passively giving up. It's taking the most definitive affirmative action to any problem ever. Like, it's the ultimate solution to a problem. It's not inaction or giving up. It's, I am solving this problem permanently.
Is it really? Because what is that Tyrion knot or some shit? What is that thing called that you were saying? That's what it
Gordian
seemed.
knot.
Say it again.
The Gordian knot.
Gordian knot. It's a Gordian knot situation where you have a problem in front of you, and instead of dealing with it, it's circumnavigating it. And because fine, it's just go ahead and then just admit that because like you did, as long as people do that and say that they are pro-suicide, then fine. But I'm not.
I'm not pro-suicide, but I'm not critical of when someone thinks that that's the only way out. I'm not encouraging it like it is, you know, something that we
say
should
that
do.
when if we're setting an example through society that this is a reasonable approach to this, rather than think, because I've wanted to commit suicide before, but I wouldn't do it because I know what it means to other people. That's the only thing, is the effect on other people. And I think that's a useful tool, but you take that out of the equation when you turn this into, we don't want to judge his decisions, and no, because he knew the effect of his decisions. There's no way he didn't.
Yeah, but they would become less relevant. The more distorted his perspective, the less relevant what his life means to other people becomes. And I'm not saying that that's a desirable situation to be in. It's not. I just understand why people do it. I'm not encouraging it. I'm just like, I'm not going to fucking judge you. I'm not going to wade into the, like, a lot of people get really, they moralize about it. I'm not saying that's what you're doing, because I don't think you are. But I'm not a moralizer with something like this, because I can't know what's in their head. And nothing, no argument, no semantic use of words will ever convince me that anyone is a capable or qualified judge as to what's going on in someone else's head.
But
Never.
depression isn't this huge mystery, though. We know how to deal with it. It's just not mainstream, to be honest with you. We have the medical industrial complex, and we have tons of issues that the mainstream zeitgeist is the problem I have more than all of this. That we bypass all of the well-documented solutions where it's simple fucking things like exercise or something. And people always jump on me and say, like, oh, well, you think he should have just went for a jog and you would have got over it. That's not my point at all. My point is suicide should be taken off the fucking table, and that's what labeling it as the backing out to, because we have all of this information on how to deal with it in a different way. Now, if he's ignorant of that, I guess you could make an argument that it was a brave dive into fixing the problems gung-ho, but I wish we could switch from that and say, no, you don't need suicide to fix this, because it's a permanent solution to a temporary problem, even if he had it his whole entire fucking life, that we need to harbor, and it makes us more self-critical of the problems in our society. Because I'll say again, other countries that aren't westernized, that don't get pumped full of fast food and patting ourselves on the back and stroking ourselves, where we get more depressed because of actual biological things.
No, that's not true. There are cultures in the world that are extremely less tolerant than us. There are an incredible amount of suicides amongst gay youth in Central and Sub-Saharan Africa. That is a fact, and you would not say that these are Western cultures.
I was talking about depression, though.
Yeah, but all right, but they
Well,
suffer.
depression comes out of the fact that they do feel this way. Why am I not a normal human being? Why do I have to live this existence?
And
that
it comes
leads
from
to the
their
depression.
broken understanding of society.
You
don't counter my point by raising
also,
another broken aspect of society in third world countries. I'm saying
no.
it's far less often, though.
But there's also the chemical imbalance aspect to it. What if Robin Williams tried all of the things that you said? He tried therapy, he tried drugs, he tried alcohol, he tried exercising. You know, the phrase "a permanent solution to a temporary problem" kind of breaks down when the problem isn't so temporary. Some people can never get out of this chemical imbalance that they have in their brain that makes them feel this particular way. What if him being around his family was so miserable that him taking himself out of the equation would make the family happier because he's not a miserable fuck to be around? What would you say then?
Also, I'd just like to say, like, in the West, I think, you know, just to get a little bit underneath this and look at maybe why it happens. I've thought about this quite a lot. And I think that the reason why Western cultures suffer from this a lot more than, say, others is because in our society, the cult of the individual and individual power over one's own choices and the notions of freedom and choice and liberty are feed into, in normal healthy minds, you know, aspiration, you know, determination, ambition, you know, dedication, all the things that are healthy. Now, in a mind that's not necessarily healthy, those ideas can be expressed in numerous damaging ways, like people who shoot up schools. You know, they see their existence as they're the ones that are put upon. They're the tragic figure. You know, we celebrate this cult of the individual, the ego.
And do we refrain from negative terms on them? They have mental imbalances. Do we refuse to say that the Santa Barbara shooter wasn't crazy or insane or whatever?
But I don't think that anyone would debate that Robin Williams is suffering from a mental illness. I don't think anyone would be up for a debate on that. I think it's quite clear if you take
my point is the mental illness doesn't absolve you of the definition behind your actions, regardless of what drives you to do.
Well, legally, it actually does. Legally, it does. If you have diminished mental capacity, you're not charged with murder. So even in like machinations of the state, such as the law courts,
cowardly isn't a legal definition.
It is. It's happened in the military. It's happened in the military with shell shock and post-traumatic stress. That happened in the First World War. People were shot for being cowards because they couldn't actually function because of the psychological trauma that they'd had. They've been labeled they've been moralized by an authority and said you are a coward and shot. And then we found out later through education it was post-traumatic stress syndrome, and there's nothing that they could have done. So it does happen all the time. It's just that in this particular case, with this sort of self-crime, because he's not,
you're judging again, though. Why can't we detach ourselves from the judgment behind the words? The inability to fight, however reasoned it is, because I never said that it isn't reasonable for him to commit suicide. I'm not saying it isn't they should in World War I or II, whichever you were referencing, with shell shock, which we didn't understand, chemistry, all that. It is cowardly, but we don't have to kill them for it. That's my thing. The action themselves, and there is no judgment to it. They are unable, because of the conditions, to perform action X against whether they're fighting depression and their own mental state or the fucking Germans. Either way, I want to detach the judgment of the word, and I think we should be more open with being honest with language.
I really don't think that people would be so comfortable in calling shell shock victims cowards, like actually saying their actions are cowardly. Like if you're using the word, if you're using it in the way that I think you're using it, I think what you're saying is that you're removing the judgment from it. So it's a descriptive word. It's not also a noun, right? So it's an adjective. So cowardly, or it's a verb. So you're being cowardly, or you did a cowardly action. So it's describing what you did or describing what you are doing. You are not a coward, which is a noun. So if that's the way that you want to define that term, then I don't really have a problem with what you've said. But I don't think that that's most people's understanding of the word. I think when people use the word cowardly action or coward, it's a noun, and it's in judgment, and it's irrelevant of any understanding of the context of what or why someone did something. It's a judgment word, and I think that's why people have a problem with the guy on Fox News. Now, let's just take this back. I was originally going to agree with you, because actually I don't really have a problem with what the guy said, because it wasn't premeditated. He was just reasoning it out in his own, he obviously has different values to me, but he was just reasoning it out like a human being. It was like the first human moment on Fox News in the history of the channel, where he was just like, you got these kids and they're so beautiful, and, he was relating his own morality and his experience and going, I clearly have kids, and I wouldn't want to leave these girls behind with no one to look after them. I would judge myself a coward. That's what he's saying, right? He was saying, I would think myself a coward if I did that in my context. And that, I don't think you should have a fucking problem with. Like, someone's allowed a fucking opinion. This isn't like it's the BBC World Service where they strive for being, truly unbiased. This is Fox fucking News. Like, if there's any news channel where someone should have a fucking soapbox, it's at least the one that doesn't pretend like it's not doing that all the time. Like, why people are getting up in a tiz? Oh, what, right-wing people think leftists killing themselves is a sign of moral infirmity. What a shocker. It's not like we've ever heard that before. But right-wing people kill themselves all the time as well. They throw themselves out of board meetings when their chairs plummet or shit. I don't know.
Right, and there's a lot of reasons to commit suicide. And let's say a guy wasn't depressed and he just lost billions of dollars overnight and killed himself. I'm sorry if I'm judgmental or whatever and saying there is better ways to deal with that problem. And you have a perspective problem. That's what it is. Because comparing it to soldiers who have shell shock and are unable to act is one thing. Comparing it to fighting depression over life and then choosing the action, because depression doesn't really cause you to do things other than not do things, and it's not
That's a brilliant description of it, by the way.
You actually agree with that or not?
Yeah, depression is the most limiting thing that can ever happen to a human being.
Right, and as someone who has been depressed,
it's the
I can
illness of
understand that.
inaction.
And I'm not saying like I'm better than him because I didn't kill myself. What I'm saying is it's educating about the options and adding the perspective. I don't see why we can't allow cowardly to be attached to suicide, because I think then we're forced to look, instead of saying the apologist, we can't understand him, we're forced to look at the solutions and say the real solutions, not the ones that are I'm not as educated as Eddie. I don't know the knot or Gordian knot or whatever. Not looking at that which bypass it. Let's look at ourselves. Look at society. Let's look at all the real issues instead of saying like, well, some people just kill themselves. That just happens.
If you want to do it as an educational and semantic thing, then fine. I'll be that, as it may. That's fine. But in this particular situation, I don't think that adjective is still appropriate. I think that you could still have a person who chooses to do this action, right, if they've explored other options and they say, well, my existence here and what it has been for the longest time has been a miserable existence. It doesn't get better. Even when I do things that should make me better, it doesn't get me better. There's nothing else I could do.
Which is false.
No, because
no, it's not false.
Well, I don't want to get into that semantic argument, but I would, that ties into, well, this is a mental illness. I bet you wouldn't feel the same if it was a physical one, and that's behind arguments behind euthanasia and people ending their own lives to just get out of I don't know, having Ebola AIDS or whatever, or something terminal. Whether you're in support of that or whatever, or you want to run an educational program. Well, these are your options. Die painfully. Enjoy them. It's not quite the same thing, but
at least it's false on a broad stroke, right?
Right.
Because you're giving him the benefit of the doubt that he had the worst possible thing that couldn't be fixed.
No.
That's what you're saying.
Actually, my point is this: it's got nothing to do with the detail, actually, is that I can't find it within myself to judge someone who takes the ultimate form of will. They express their will ultimately and end their own life. I just can't. I can't find it within myself to judge them. I would, it makes me sad, and I would do whatever it takes to explain to people that they don't have to. We are in agreement that people don't have to do that, that there are other options. I'm not sitting here arguing, well, that was the only thing that he could do. That's not true. There are other options. And in that way, you're right, in that I understand if you want to take the word judgment out of the word cowardly and use it in the way that you're using it to promote that suicide isn't a good thing. I kind of agree with you. However, I can't have a problem with someone making that ultimate decision. I just can't, because I've never found it like it's reasonable, like it's the route of decision making that I want to take, and I can't actually imagine myself doing that.
Could you maybe, because this is another issue that I have more, is that why are our emotions so fragile that we can't handle complex problems like this, that we want to shut them off entirely? That, I think, that is worse to me than in any of this, that we're unable to tackle this in an educated way. And Brian, by the way, I muted you because you're on the phone, but we're afraid of, like, oh, I can't pass judgment on it. Why can't we make this into a debate? Why do we have to just step back and be bleeding hearts about this and say everyone will just do whatever they want? I don't feel that I should be wrong for being pro-human, pro-fight, pro-attack, and
you're not wrong.
And all that.
You're not wrong. I'm not saying that you're wrong.
But people villainize those that call this cowardly because
because they don't have this debate.
We can't say judgment. We can't judge an action.
Yeah,
why?
But that's because but that's because they're not capable of having the debate. A lot of people have to feel one way or the other. A lot of people aren't comfortable with complexity. They're not, and that's because they're not. It's going to sound really fucking pretentious, but a lot of people don't think about what it is to be alive and experience shit. A lot of people live quite superficially, and that's not necessarily like the greatest earth-shattering piece of news that will ever be expressed. That's quite obvious to people who think a lot. A lot of other people don't tend to do this, right? That is not something that is a surprise. However, like, we get to have this conversation and have different perspectives and be okay with it. And any wisdom or insight that you have, I will use to inform my opinion. I don't take it personally if you actually have the wisdom that's correct. Like, I'm looking for the correct answer. I'm not worrying whether I'm in possession of it or you are. I'm going to add your wisdom to mine, hopefully, to improve all of it, so I understand the problem better. However, I have a principle that I just can't. I don't have it within me. It's not within me to say what a cunt when someone takes that way out. To me, it's fairly obvious that suicide is not the desirable outcome for your problems. Like, if it ever had, like, if liberal thought ever gets to a point where they're like, no, actually, in schools, so, you go to the fucking, like, high school counselor and it's like a book of your options, and on the last page is, there's always that last step you can take. Like, that's not a society I will live in either. And speaking as someone who has come back from the brink of that, yes, there are other ways out, but I understand what it's like when that doesn't seem true, because I know what it's like to have lost trust in my own perception and go, the way that I see the world, the way that I believe the world to be, isn't true. Like, I've had stuff happen to me where I can go, I can't even trust my own judgment anymore. And maybe that helped me, maybe it didn't. But I just can't judge someone that just fucking takes himself out. It's just such an extreme thing to do, and to me speaks way more of the depth of pain than anything else. And that's why I suppose I try to, on most problems, I try and stay on the edge of compassion than judgment. Because I don't think you solve anything with judgment, actually. I think you just you make it easier to digest for some people, and that's it.
That gives the benefit of the doubt, though, to that it was, you know what I mean? It's almost, you're doing what I'm doing, but in the other direction. It's okay to judge him if we assume that it's enough pain to kill himself. That I want to label it as a mistake by doing that. That's my look at it. And my real problem is with any type of, really, it's a lot of these progressive thinkers, people that I'm in camp with, that I would want to be in camp with, at least, whether it's feminists or whatever. They do more to suppress conversation than they do to empower action, where they're more about controlling the message and softening how everybody else deals with whatever problem that is, whether you're making jokes about rape or I'm saying suicide is cowardly, that lacks perspective, perspective, honestly, I think, even if you're ignorant of that fact in the moment, we are capable of, as thinking humans, to look at a teenage girl who's in high school that commits suicide because she's bullied as lacking perspective, at the very least. Regardless, we say, like, well, we can understand it. I think it's okay for us to enter this debate, whereas the soft ease out there, that I'm not saying you guys are doing this, but the people who campaign and shut out this debate is the ones I don't like, because they just want to control the message and don't want to reveal and mix up with these complex emotions. They just let's just be safe. Let's just be safe, and everyone just calm down. Let's not offend anybody.
That's because they're not comfortable with complexity. Like I have maybe an incorrect assumption that, you know, his daughter ain't happy with him. You know, like his wife had to fucking come home and find him. You know, like I can see all the selfishness and all the things that people are quite right to say. However, I have compassion for him, and no matter how much, you can look at my tweet, you can do this now watching this podcast, you can find the one tweet that I said about this, and it wasn't, oh, you know, he was so amazing or anything like that. It was just simply, oh, Robin, like, because that's how I feel. Like, I feel empathy with him, and some form of weird, depressed person camaraderie and comradeship, and knowing the struggle. And that's pretentious and maybe overstated, but I do, and I feel compassion for him and empathy. And the reason why I said that is because it could have been avoided if you had someone that you truly trusted that presented these options to you. But clearly in that time you didn't, and you took the ultimate, however you judge it, I don't care, action to stop suffering. That's just a great loss, not just to you, but to everybody whose lives you touched. And that's a tragedy. That's tragic. Like, it doesn't matter. The morality of it doesn't really matter to me. It's a tragedy.
Oh, I'm amoral. I have no morals whatsoever.
The biggest problem that I have with the whole thing is that when people say, you know, this is cowardly or an act of cowardice, is that I think that they stand to beat their chest and pump themselves up and say, I'm better than this person because they did this cowardly act. And that I despise too. I don't like people that will always jump on, sometimes it is the bleeding hearts that'll jump on a case and be like, oh, you know, I'm better than you. I would never say this comment or that comment, or, you know, have this racial undertone of this perception that I did. That's not a good thing to have. That's not a good culture to cultivate. You know what I mean? To have the holier than thou approach every time. So that's why
it's full of shit. It's because it's, you know, just to add to your point, sorry to cut you off, but it's because those people are full of shit. Like, anyone who's an absolutist, you're full of shit. Like, it doesn't matter whether you're holier than thou or, you know, Rush Limbaugh seems to be like this comedy bad guy. Like, I'm sure he must just play up to, this will really wind the lefties up, right? That I'll say something that they'll fucking despise and it'll get me press, right? And that's why I think he's evil. It's like, he's using Robin Williams, the tragedy, right? He's exploiting tragedy.
What did he say?
He was just basically like, he basically said, paraphrasing completely here, that, you know, that's it's understandable when you consider like Robin Williams's politics that
Oh
people
yeah.
that liberals are soft-headed and they kill themselves because they're morally weak and they can't stand up to the realities of the world. That's a paraphrase of it, but it's like he's pushing his agenda using a tragedy, like classic frontier capitalism was a lot of it was benefiting from tragedy. It's like this. The Rockefellers didn't lose all their stock in the Wall Street crash. There's some cold, shark-like, cutthroat, psychopathic viewpoint that someone will see an opportunity in the worst things, and I think he's that person, and that's why I despise him. Like, it's not because of his position or his politics, whatever. It's that. It's like, I'm going to use this tragedy to carve up this masterfully evil statement that will get the liberals so wound up, and I'll get all this press. Fuck Robin Williams, I'll take all the fame and all the attention. I just like, fuck you, you evil piece of shit. Like, I know what you're doing. I'm not stupid, but still, fuck you. Like you've ever felt anything.
I guess one last thing to close this out is where do you divide the line between suicide and things like euthanasia, where you have a medical condition, it's probably not going to get any better, you might as well just end it right now.
I think it's always someone's choice.
Are they false equivalents? Is suicide for depression or like some sort of state like that equivalent to euthanasia for some sort of terminal illness? Are those equivalent, or is one higher than the other? Like
I mean that is.
We already know your position on it. It's more like question for Frito.
Depression doesn't tie the noose. You do. And I know we love, and we've talked about this in the past, I hate with a burning passion the overemphasis of chemical imbalances and removing agency and the potential to allow willpower to succeed over our failings, which ties into the medical industrial complex. And you have studies on studies that are built with profit motive to prove that medication is needed for these things, rather than because when you hear my small argument, like, oh, that's a cowardly action, because I understand all this other shit. That's the problem. I understand that we don't necessarily have to attack every single mental issue with drugs and assume that the torturedness of it is unbearable or something.
Well, not only that, certain drugs will cause other side effects. Like if you take drugs for depression,
worse, for God's sakes. Like,
yeah.
It's
or if you take a drug for depression and its side effect is you may gain weight, then all of a sudden now you're depressed because you're getting fat instead of getting depressed for whatever you were in the first place. You know what I mean?
Good, honest reason.
It's not as simple as exercise, you'll get better. It's that we lean over into this nice intellectual comfortability where
we'll take a pill for that.
We just buy into everything we've been told and nobody questions things, and we are cowardly in our attack of these issues in the entire span of it, not suicide itself, but just our approach to dealing with this problem. Nobody wants to be me and stand up and be a jackass and say, you know what, maybe we should be honest about agency with this. Can we just be a little honest about the fact that he made a decision, and who knows how to tie a fucking noose? I sure as hell don't. He probably had to Google it beforehand, and he got to get it real fucking tight and know how to hang it the right way, because this story easily could have been Robin Williams failed to commit suicide last night. Thank God he's still alive, and we have all these same feelings, and it's a big story, and plenty of people fail to commit suicide, and we feel much different afterwards. This is one of the ones where, God damn it, he actually got it right. He did it, and the point is, I hate the zeitgeist of it, of just we assume defeat instead of progressing the science, because a lot of these, it ties in with a whole bunch of my other attacks on institutionalized ideology, whether it's feminism or psychiatry or whatever, where they're soft sciences that use political agendas to fuel hard evidence, and instead of being scientific, where we allow the evolution and let things that might not be comfortable be true, they get comfortable in the status quo.
Okay. So my counter to this is, I kind of equivalate this to, maybe I'm wrong to do this, but I kind of equivalate that kind of approach, prescriptive, we can solve these issues kind of approach, and using science against things like suicide and emotions, and how we as human beings interact with our emotions and our mental health and all that kind of stuff, kind of equivalated to the drug war, in that sometimes, not in all cases, but I feel that our agency over being able to effectively change these things is an illusion. And I think that maybe this is just like complete complacent, just acceptance of a horrible truth that we could actually work against, maybe. But I do genuinely believe that people will always kill themselves. It does not matter.
That's not what I was saying at all. I was never saying we would combat suicide itself. What I'm saying is we can change our viewpoint and approach and be more honest with the science of it. Because what you just said there is a predetermined belief of the world that allows for these blowhards that are full of hot air to push around that agenda and profit from it, rather than do the scientific thing of allowing the evidence to push us into understandings that totally flip the thing on its face and say, this doesn't have to be this way. And I'm not saying it would even benefit us. We might even find out it's fucking worse. The solutions that I'm talking about, it might be worse, right? And that's what science does. It allows for us to just have reality smacked in our face.
You are pro-illumination. I agree. And and so am I.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things too where maybe, the drugs that we give people are kind of masking the problem, but not actually dealing with the chemical imbalances or the problem. And the reason why we don't go forward on trying to solve that problem is because masking of the problem is good enough.
I also
Frito is saying.
I think it's culture. I think our culture teaches some people to think too much, and teaches people to search out the most. It's no surprise. Loads of fucking artists and mathematicians and engineers, they all go crazy. Like, there's a guy who worked out, right, what's the concept of infinity? A circle, right? So you can subdivide a circle. So what? You can subdivide infinity, therefore it's finite, because it can be measured and subdivided. That's a mathematical theory that sent not one mathematician, but two, separately, over different decades, mental. Eating your own poo, throwing it at the wall, had to be locked up in the asylum, mental. And I think humans just have that part in us that teaches us to chase dangerous things. And I just think that within any population you'll have extremes of behavior, and this is one of them. Sometimes shit gets amongst people who are encouraged, because his whole career was like, yeah, go to the edge, go to the edge, go to the edge, because it fucking entertained us, right? Go to the edge, go to the edge, go to the edge. Oh, he fell off. And we're fucking surprised, we turn around and be like, oh, it's fucking,
I don't think anyone should be surprised, to be honest.
No, this guy has been taught, whether directly or indirectly, from day zero, go to the edge, go to the edge. Oh, some people are responding, they're laughing, they like me, all sorts of positive reinforcement for his eventually incredibly self-destructive behavior. And then he's like an old man now, and it finally catches up with him. He's fell off the edge.
AKA
and we're shocked.
The struggle that just about every comedian has some percentage of. And,
yeah.
And, I criticized you before for giving the benefit of the doubt, but likely he had it worse, just in everything he's ever shown. Likely he had it to probably the max degree. But my thing is, when we go on faith, I'll just talk in a sec, I'll be as quick as possible. When we look to biology and when we look to evolution and be more honest with ourselves as a species, we come up with conclusions that teach us how that can be damaging. Obviously we can look
posthumously and say, well, yeah, that's probably, he's a tortured soul, blah, blah, blah. But we can find better solutions than just medicate or suicide. That's my thing.
I agree. I would never disagree with you, ever.
But then
completely-
but then talking about, euthanasia, are there times when suicide is acceptable to happen? If you have like a term, like, that's where I was trying to go before, but we got off of it a little bit.
Well, my
like,
personal beliefs, yeah, I find this suicide acceptable. I feel, to be honest, I find all suicide acceptable in some way, but
is euthanasia more like, or less cowardly?
I would say it comes to the basis of your ability to fight it. Because whether you're defeated because every single scientific basis proves that you will die and it will hurt a lot. You will not be able to move. You can't think. You're a vegetable or something like that. It's congruent to that. And because of that belief, when I look at something like depression, as debilitating as I know fucking well it is, it's not worth killing yourself for. And I'm sorry if I'm a jackass for saying that. Depression is not worth killing yourself for. I think moral judgments, whatever side, there is so much more value. And it's a perspective thing. You're like, well, you don't have the perspective to say that. Well, I'm sorry, but there is much more life and things and good that can come out of it. And if Eddie says before that when he dies, it obviously affected a lot of people negatively. Well, I'm sorry if I judge and say that perspective should have been dealt with at the time. And I don't feel wrong for saying that this is a bad, dumb mistake reason to handle that problem specifically.
We also don't know if it was mental illness that would never get better. Does that change the opinion? Does that sway it in one way or another?
I think our leaning of the crutch of mental illness is incredibly overblown, like I was mentioning before. And our mental illness, is this a new thing? Is this a 20th century thing that it cropped up with psychology? Oh my God, every year in psychology we find out 100 new diseases that everybody has.
Okay,
These
so
things didn't get invented. This is part of the human condition. That's my issue. We need to normalize our path through it instead of marginalizing it to some sort of,
But okay, so let's take it to the example that you were saying before, when like rich people, rich affluent societies. That's kind of this is our disease, and in cultures where people it's much more survival based, they don't have these fucking people. Well, that's no fucking surprise to me, because if you can't fucking function, you're gonna die. It's as simple as that.
Or it won't even be starving people. It'll be farmers or small cultures or things without.
I'm saying that by being able to keep for these people to actually live, that we've made progress. That actually these people being around and then killing themselves, or whatever manifestation of their illness it happens to be, we get to see that now because our society's got to the point where it is not actually survival based, because they just don't survive otherwise. But they've always been around. I don't think mental illness, as you have cynicism, as you should do with anything that's unknown, as to whether it's invented or it's real. And because when you're dealing with the mind, there's not a lot of hard science empirical data that you can do with the inside of someone's head.
Well, they're getting better at it, and I don't know if I would say cynicism, but skepticism. Which is the basis of science. It's the science part of the soft science, if you will. And I don't think we should just allow the soft scientists to just walk all over us and be complacent with that. What the biologists, for instance, and I probably should have brought this in sooner, to be honest, into this debate, but why that comparison makes more sense, because I fucking have time to. We're already over time on the show. But when you remove, because we're simple beings that have created far more complex worlds around us, right? When you normalize...
I don't agree with that premise at all, but I'll go with it.
Well,
go with it. And
is our society more or less complex than agricultural societies that look incredibly similar to 100,000 years ago?
No, I don't agree with the we're simple beings part of the premise. I don't think we're simple beings at all. with the result of
In
millions of years of evolution.
In comparison to media and buildings and other things that we have created in art and all these other things, those concepts that came out, the basis biology of us, if you believe the premise that we can be run by chemicals in our brain, then we're not that fucking powerful, Eddie. Like there is some baseline of animalistic of drives and biology that runs that.
But everything that is, or that has ever been, that is the result of human endeavor, has come out of this tiny box, or many of these.
Correct.
Right?
But if we are fallible to that, and we can't
can we
command it like an animal...
How can we be simple if we have infinite potential?
Everything else but beyond our brain is
square amount of space. How? How can that be simple? How can we have a mind? No, hold on. Let me just ask this question. How can we be a simple being if we have a mind that can conceptualize regarding itself? I have a mind. No other being that we know of can do that. That is not simple. That kind of mind can do anything.
Yes. My analysis of the simplicity of it has nothing to do with the evolution of the brain. But again, like getting into evolution and biology, we still have all of the drives and subject to brain chemicals. We don't overpower it. We are slave to it, especially if you believe in depression as being debilitating and it's impossible to get over, and psychosis and all these other things. If you believe that, you have to believe that we are not commanders of our brains. We are byproducts of them.
Have you ever held back your anger?
Yeah, but I believe that. I'm the one who says that we are strong enough to do that. I think you're overreading my split of the simpleness and the. I agree with you, but it's hard for me to get into words where our shit's nuanced here, right?
Okay. Yeah,
we're still animals. How about that? We are animals. We're not different in the way we deal with the world than animals, except for our brain, which both enables and disables us because it is so powerful. That is the problem. And when you deal with that kind of brain through the evolutionary scale, which had more... Neil deGrasse Tyson says, I think, an incredibly poignant way of expressing things. Like when we're talking about optical illusions or speeds or things like that, mammal time, mammal space, mammal conceptions, where like we can't see the molecules in a rock, but they're there. We can't perceive them, but we don't need to because it's not in mammal size for us to understand.
Yeah.
In that same way, we operate in that very naturalistic environment of the end result of our evolution. But at the same time, our brains have gotten so out of control, as it were, as kind of you're saying, that we have created so many more things like philosophy, I think, therefore I am, these things that have exploded in our culture that is a shit more complicated to deal with than wake up, farm, tend the herd, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
The very ritualistic, because that's our roots. That's what our being has been evolved to deal with. We have no method, as far as we can tell, to evolve with the culture that we've created. The complex culture is the complex part in my view, I guess, that gets spawned from our brain. Because other animals have a much more down-to-earth, survivalistic, natural environment.
Find shelter.
Well, their habitats don't evolve as fast as our habitats have evolved.
But they also don't change their habitat, do they?
They're evolved over millions and millions of years, whereas our society has evolved over the last several hundred years to the point where it is now.
Exactly. And you're giving a newborn child into this world that is completely different from, or not completely, but there's so much different stuff than what it was evolved to comprehend with. That's my point.
I think the essence, pretentious.
And that's not me conjecturing things. This is me paraphrasing what biologists and the type of psychologists that I respect say. This is me parroting that.
Okay, so pretentious moment. Part of being human is realizing what essentially I can boil layman's terms. we have to reconcile agency, being in control, and non-agency, slavery, to either biological imperatives, genetic memory, genetic instinct, all those kind of things. We have to live an existence that is a result of those two opposing factors working at the same time. And in that environment, it's kind of a wonder that it all doesn't just go horribly wrong, in my opinion. So when I look at the world that way and I go, I'm both a product of the choices I can make, and I think that's why sometimes I have the belief that agency is an illusion. I think that's why I think that, is because there are plenty of examples that we could all give just off the top of our fucking head where we're like, I'm not in control. I don't have agency, and there's nothing I can do about X. Whereas there are as many, if not more, examples where we can say, in this situation, I have agency. So we're beings that know what it is to have power and be powerless, and I think that's what being human is. And I think that's why when people are like, we will solve the problem and we will exert our agency over this problem.
Well,
Sometimes
it's
I'm
by no
like,
means as simple as that. But it's by acknowledging the society we've built as not necessarily the best thing for us. It's a hard realization that it's like, it's the have your cake and eat it too thing. It's we have to look at what we've created and the environment that we employ and the beautiful laughter we get from Robin Williams. Isn't it great? So many funny movies. Patch Adams, look, he's got a clown nose on. Like, it's such a beautiful thing that we think, but we don't examine the damage that it does as well. We're not honest with ourselves. That's what I'm saying. Like, I understand the nuance to it, but there isn't a socially acceptable way to approach this truth. People don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear that the cultivizations of our culture
it's almost like a
negative.
Darwinist. It's almost like the Darwinistic theory in full force, right? Survival of the fittest. Those who built the society and the parameters in which we live are going to benefit the most from whatever they think will benefit them the most. So in a certain way, the majority of people or the plebeians of society are not built in such a way to succeed in this Darwinistic environment of which people have, constructed, if you will.
yeah. I think, oh fuck, I had a really good point. You've kind of just said, no, you've said exactly what I sort of wanted to say. Agency. So I wanted to go back to this. So, what were you talking about, Frito, just before Brian said that?
I don't know if I made any fucking sense.
This has been Comedy Stoner Hour, by the way.
I've been grasping at straws this entire time. I have no idea what I'm
trying not
saying.
to drown here.
What other big words can I try and pronounce but not fuck them up? Let's just grab them all.
It's been a buffet of bullshit for me for the last hour. The agency is a huge part, but the society we've built for ourselves is not congruent to our biological makeup. It doesn't fit as simply. It's more difficult. That's where you get corpse fucking and like a bunch of crazy shit that humans do. That I agree is part of biology, but it's dealing with the problems that we have created through society more than naturalistic things.
Okay. So there's a base hypocrisy in that, because you're not comfortable with the complexity that all the shit happens. Your conceptualization of the world is rigid, not all the time. I'm not saying I'm not using it like a dirty word like coward, but you have a fixed view that problems are solvable. You cannot handle the fact that some might not be. I'm not saying that they aren't, but some might not be. Some of what happens to us isn't within our control. Some of what we do, some of the things that influence us into action is beyond our control and will result in this or, behavior X, behavior Y. Some of those are desirable, some of those are not. Like suicide's obviously not desirable, but is it the result of some of the things that, one, we're in control of, and other things that we're not? And in that way, that's not accepting the complexity of what it is to be us. There are things that Robin Williams was in control of. There are things that he was not. And in that way, it's a tragic death, and it is ultimately his choice. And in that way, I can't judge him. It's his choice. He took the sum of all of his experiences, everything that he could available at the time, and made that decision. Now, would I have made the same decision? No, because I haven't. But I didn't have the same pressures on me either. So at that point, it removes my validity. If I even were to pass any judgment, in possession of all the facts.
Yeah.
You
Damn
froze
it!
for like 1 second. But
Well, I just said the best argument ever and totally destroyed everything that Frito was saying for the last 2 hours.
you're assuming that I have an ideological opinion, though, and it's not. It's not.
No,
the,
but you
it's
do.
not
You,
the
no, this was even better. Like earlier, you were like, some people use these kind of things to beat their chest and push their agenda. You have an agenda. You don't like bullshit soft science, which you use a lot of your arguments.
But
to,
it's
to
because
formulate
they
around,
don't
"We should-"
follow in evidence and truth. That's different. You're using that's
But
a false equivalency.
That's
Eddie.
your cultural bias. You're using like, we're all hypocrites. Everyone. It's very difficult not to make a hypocrite of yourself. But when you say people use things like this to push an agenda, it doesn't matter. Do you not think that the people that do that think that their agenda is worthy and that they're doing it for the right reasons? Just like you're doing now when you're saying, yeah, but they're not doing it because they're not looking at the science and the reasons. You think what you're doing is valid, but you're still using it to push an agenda. That's a base hypocrisy. And I'm not saying that makes you a bad person. I'm a base hypocrite too. So is Brian, just in...
But you're cutting off half the sentence, though. I'm great with agendas. Go ahead, push your agenda, but don't pretend you come from the school of facts and evidence. That's the problem. If you want to have an opinion and you want to join the debate, that's great. But the opinions that arise, that evolve over time and can be challenged rather than the ignorant complacency of assuming we have it right already, is anti-scientific. You're the type of argument you're making is the same shit against religion versus science type thing.
In opposition to that, there are some things that... Do you accept this premise that there are some things that cannot be measured? That cannot be empiricized?
It depends. I don't know. I think it'd be easier if we had an example of something you would claim can't be.
Okay, do you think it's... Oh, God. Do you think it's truly possible to measure the power of an individual's mind with empirical data?
Some things are bound to empirical things, so aspects of that would be. But if it's either too complex of a problem or we don't have the means to measure it, I don't know if I can be complacent with the answer and just assuming that it's unmeasurable. I think that's dishonest and unscientific and archaic way of thinking. So maybe you're true. Maybe you're true now. I think.
That's not why I asked.
I think it's a silly question because I think we should always be trying to find things that we can measure instead of just assuming there's things we can't.
No. Okay, so there's things that we currently can't measure. Whether we will develop new measurement systems and new understanding is, that's a process of time. I'm not saying that. I'm asking conceptually, do you think there's some things that cannot be measured?
I think you should never make a statement of absolution based on lack of evidence. I think asking such a question like that, it's almost like a God question of, you're asking me to make a judgment call on something unknowable at this time. I think that's a silly approach. I think you should be in constant search of stretching those bounds and never be content in dark space, because that's the opposite of science.
No, that's true. I agree with you. But there's a point at which I go, I don't have... The reason why I ask that is because I don't think I can make a judgment without all the facts. And the truth is, at least how I see it, is that we'll never be in full grasp of the facts of what Robin Williams was thinking and what pressures were on him.
In other words, you're saying it is impossible to empirically and statistically put the shoe on the other foot,
Yeah,
if you will.
yeah. It's at
Can
this
we ever
time,
experience the pain? Can we ever experience the mind state or the psychological being of somebody else?
yeah. Can that even be measured? And if it can, I'm not closed off to the idea that it can't be done, but currently it can't. So any sort of scientific approach to that which is unmeasurable at this time will bear, at the very least, unreliable results. I'm not saying that it's futile to do that. I'm not saying that at all. Do that all you want. Improve, push the science. Find out more. Illumination is always better than darkness. However, in this case, it's impossible to fucking tell. So what's the point in making a judgment? You're only going to make a judgment that is incomplete.
Correct. But when I say it, I don't feel that I have to be tied to his specific scenario. I'm using it as an approach to the larger concepts that we deal with. I think it's petty to when people say like, oh, he was such a great man. How could you? It's like, listen, if you think I really give a shit about commenting on him as a person, you're missing the point. I want to raise awareness in a more broader sense because we get caught up in celebrity and the story itself and the particulars and the semantics, even as much as I like to say, hey, guess what? Like, English works this way, so you kind of have to accept that, even if it hurts. But I'll admit, I enjoy that. I enjoy shoving my elitist cock in places it doesn't belong. However, my real goal in the waste of timeness of it is to illuminate the fact that we don't have to be complacent. We can actually progress this instead of falling back on our heels and being accepting of pseudoscience, which is what a lot, I'm sorry, of soft science is based on. I mean, I found out the other day that many things, most actually, of dentistry is based on no evidence whatsoever. Interesting. Every single dentist saying that flossing is better than brushing was just out of his ass. Didn't want to question, didn't want to test, didn't want to, like, this. I am against anything that bars scientific, or rather, I don't like to use that word because I think it's means less than what I like to use, which any skeptic thought, anything that denies skeptic thought, I think is a fundamental problem. And
nothing is safe from inquiry.
Where you're going is the scientific method. That's where you kind of like, that process of, thinking about a problem, then testing a hypothesis and all that stuff. That's
correct.
That has
but not everything can be fixed through that.
I think
though.
it's deeper
I would
than
admit that.
I think it's deeper than that. What Frito's saying is it's not. It goes beyond the scientific method in that we should always strive to light up that which is dark. In terms of knowledge, like we should always strive to look under the rock, essentially, like to see what's there. And we should always try and escape the cave. Callback. Like that's what we should do. I don't think anyone's in disagreement with that at all. It's just obviously all our personal tastes are different. I find it distasteful to pass judgment on someone who fucking killed themselves. I find that distasteful. I wouldn't do it. I have empathy and compassion for them. I don't see any point in it. I don't see any gain. I don't see any gain in pushing that line of inquiry other than if you're talking with two other moderately smart people who can handle the complexity of the debate without fucking crying. Like this is the only environment in which, like, if you walked into a bunch of, if you said this on Twitter, first of all, your vocabulary would be restricted, so you wouldn't be able to put across your points. And secondly, you're talking mostly to retards who would immediately jump to the first wrong conclusion. Oh, what, you mean this? Internet warrior smashing their keyboard to bits. Obviously, that's not going to work. But that's not what you were trying to do, I think. I don't think you're trying to upset people. I think you're saying,
well, it is fun, but here's my position in a nutshell.
Frito is not being a chest beater. He's not being one of those holier than thou people.
Well, he kind of is.
Which is where the difference is. That's
he kind of is. He kind of is, and he knows it as well. He kind of is.
No. But I mean, in the strictest sense of the word, he's not being one of those. I'm up high on a pedestal. I'm better than you because of this kind of thing.
Yeah.
My position in a nutshell is that I hate suicide so much that I don't care
about calling it negative names that hurts people. And if you don't like it, kill yourself.
If you don't like what I'm saying, end it. You know what? For someone who's like, experienced suicide and shit, in their family, and even at school, there was a girl that killed herself. Much the same reason. She was a brilliant student. She was on the road to fucking going to like Oxford or Cambridge, really young. Like family really pushed her. Like she's brilliant, genius, maths mind. Killed herself. I'm not surprised that these people end up like being like, well, what happens if you can subdivide the circle? Does that mean that infinite is finite? Next, fucking weaving baskets in an asylum. Like, I'm not surprised that these people that are brilliant are also not wired very well. Have you ever had like something that, like a device that works fantastically but is not that reliable? I mean, everyone understands that logic. Oh, my car goes really fast and then it explodes.
I think you're describing me, Eddie.
or a GM.
Unbelievable amounts of genius that is completely incompetent on how to express it to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
If I am so humble to contain it in so few words.
Yeah, I mean, you're the most humble person I've ever met in my life. Like, the level of your humility humbles me. So much so that I might just go kill myself because I can't handle it.
Yeah, we all should do on stream. Think of all the YouTube views it would get. Robin Williams' career, he did it to promote his new movie, didn't he? What was it? No, he doesn't have a new movie. No, I'm just kidding. It's a big political.
He had a cancelled TV show.
I liked that show, actually. It was pretty well written, but a little too smart, I think, for a lot of people, to be honest. It was one of the smarter comedy shows I've seen. And when you do that, you kind of commit your show to self-destruct, if you will, or perhaps suicide.
Isn't that funny? Like, you can make something that's like brilliant and it'll just fail because it's not average. Like, I love that. I like to think that's what our YouTube channels are.
Yeah. We're mired in the mediocrity due to our excellence.
Closing comments before we close the show, kids?
I am not super duper excited for Advanced Warfare, but I like what I see so far.
I'm tepidly enthused. No, I'm
compared to the reveals of Black Ops 2, which I was like meh, and Ghost, which I was like I could not give
what is this?
less of a shit. This one actually intrigues me for the first time.
I really want
to W3.
Yeah. I really want to enjoy games with my friends, and I've been able to do that more with shitty games than I have with games that I really like. So it'd be great to have a game that was great, and we all loved it playing, and I could have that COD 4, Gears 1, Halo 3 type enjoyment in my gaming life that hasn't been present since then. So if this game is amazing, I'll be really happy.
Sounds good. Thanks, you guys, for tuning in. Be sure to check out our sponsor who provided this, one of our longer shows. I'm sorry to keep Eddie awake until 5 in the morning debating such. I like to get him when he's weak. See, we wait till the end of the show and just drag it out so I can seem smarter and smarter. Check out Sergeant J, linked in the description and annotated on screen. Airsoft videos as well as other gaming crap. Don't allow me to misparaphrase.
Airsoft gaming and crap. And other crap.
Check him out. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week. Bye.